Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Welcome to the podcast. We've we've been mates for a little bit now, and I
Yeah.
sort of found you through Interval. So I think we should start talking about Interval.
Yeah.
Because it's it's on hiatus, obviously,
Yeah.
as a lot of things are. But tell us a little bit about Interval for anyone who hasn't or doesn't know about it or of it.
Yeah.
And then sort of how it came about as well.
For sure. So Interval sort of came around for twofold reason. The first being for my own selfish benefit. So I've been DJing for the last few years, and in all of that time, I'd seen none of the people I'd met DJ at all.
Yeah.
Because I'm just DJing when they're DJing, and you just never see them. And it's like every now and then I catch half of someone's set, but for the most part, it was empty. So I was like, oh, it'd be totally sick if there were just something midweek where all of me and all of the friends I've made along the way could just hang out and have a mix, and I could see what they do and see what they get up to, but, with no limits. And then I saw that, just wasn't a platform for people to do what they wanted to do or try out things that are off-brand or really experiment with stuff. So I was like, oh, well, that doesn't exist, so let's just make it.
Yeah.
And then the feedback from that was nuts, and it just grew and grew and grew from there. And the 3 months I ran it before lockdown.
Yeah, it was starting to get like there's heaps of people. Or it always looked like it was a good vibe. And, it always a good lineup of artists. Like maybe not massive, huge guys, but guys and girls obviously who are in the scene and are working DJs or up and coming. Yeah. I really love that. And I love that you started putting on some sort of different types of events and stuff. Like I remember you did like a lo-fi sort of
Breathe.
Breathe.
That was the next one that just got pulled. But
because everyone's doing everyone's doing lo-fi projects, as I've found out recently. As a bit of a creative outlet. But like I've said, there's not really any lo-fi nights to play at, except for maybe the Breathe that was on. So pretty ironic name. Breathe with the
timely
everything going on.
Yeah. So that was really sick. But it got to a place where we had, I think the waiting list before we locked it down till next year is sitting at 80 DJs.
Yeah, huge.
From
everyone's
Brisbane.
Keen. Like it's people want to. So many DJs who don't get to play what they really want to play when they play on the weekends.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to play to
or
the
they
crowd.
get locked into
the
like
venue.
their brand that they've created, and they're like, hey, it'd be just really cool as a one-time thing to be like, I'm going to bust out a reggae set,
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it because I love all this
really
reggae
cool.
music that I listen to.
Or even like I'd love to do like a breakbeat set one time because like I used to be huge into breaks and it used to be huge in Brisbane, but it's not really a thing here anymore. So it's like I can't play breakbeat at anywhere. It's just so it's it's great for that as well to play music that maybe has been big or it's just not sort of popping at the moment. I think that's a cool little outlet. And like you said, during the week, usually DJs are not doing a lot during the week, unless they're really grinding on some weird level.
It finished early enough too for people to come and do it and not impact their lives too much.
If they're working
which was
the
really,
next day or doing something.
really sweet. But I found it awesome. I had a few awesome moments in it when I was running it, just to be like, oh, I've seen this at jazz clubs before, and only at jazz clubs, where midway, one of the jazz musicians does something that's just so cool. Like they bust out a little solo piece or a little tagline or a little drum fill or whatever it is. And the whole crowd just goes, erupts in. And then this is the first time I'd seen it during the mid DJ sets, just because the crew that turns up to go and support that are like such awesome people that they're just like midway through a set, someone does a transition and everyone's just like losing their minds. Like, that's so cool.
It's funny. It's almost like the opposite of like it probably, I dare say it almost like would do well now because like I don't know about during the week and stuff like that. It could be any time, but a lot of the times when I saw it, it was people sitting down. Enjoying the music and talking and socializing and having, I think you had food and stuff there too and stuff. So it's almost like you were ahead of the time a little bit in terms of what you could do. But it also at the moment it's venues and stuff. It's they've got to make money and a lot of them are hurting and can't afford to just try things, I suppose.
Yeah, and that was that's the big reason it isn't back at the moment is the milk factory where we were running it, which is one of my favorite venues. unfortunately had to shut down permanently.
Yeah.
And is in the process of,
Seeing if they can
reopen and
reopen.
exploring those avenues. And then so the next thing is just finding a venue that's going to be like, hey, this random dude off the street wants to come in and rig his own staging and lighting and decorations, and then introduce these strange forms of music in. Because that's the big thing. Is like it's the whole event is designed to be genreless, so you can appreciate what each DJ or musician has to offer.
Yeah.
So that's been the biggest hurdle in finding a venue that wants to support that, has been like, on the same night that we are having reggae and house music, we're going to have a metal DJ come in and do a heavy metal set.
Yeah.
So that happened on our opening night, as we had 8 DJs with 8 different genres, ranging anywhere from liquid drum and bass, experimental, indie electronic, metal, reggae, all in the same night.
Yeah, that's cool.
And which is sick to watch.
You just have to be prepared for it when you go.
Yeah.
You got to know that you're going to hear a whole heap of different things. You're not just going to, hear house music. Or, you're not just going to hear bass music.
The infamous
trap
rhythm slot at the end of the night.
Yeah, yeah. So, I think that's cool, man, because it just means that it doesn't get stale.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's something during the week. It's a little bit of more of a social thing rather than so much, it's so hard to get. And like you said, you don't see a lot of people when they play, because it's like everyone's playing at their own places. And it's almost, it's not like a loyalty thing, but it's like a lot of people feel weird going to another venue or something, especially if it's in like direct competition or something like that. And so you don't get to hang out with those people. And that's why I think those things, those more social things that aren't at a big major club. So it's almost like it's a neutral territory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No one's trying to suck up to the manager to get a gig, or no one's trying to, do whatever it is. Everyone's just there like, oh, we're just here to hang out. You know? So I think that's really cool, that kind of vibe. And that's kind of like what I'm trying to do with the Friday knockoff scene at the moment. So, it's that same thing about just more of a social thing, to, like you said, actually meet the people that and see them play rather than, just whatever. Yeah.
And one of the great things that came from that was like, I got to see what other DJs and other genres were doing, and I was like, hey, that's because I'm like the biggest sticky beak. I was like, I'm going to lean over the decks and watch everything you do for like...
Oh, so that's the only reason you run the events, so you can get everyone's cool music that they don't play anywhere.
No, not so much the tracks. I like a different sort of music to most people that are DJing in the Brisbane scene. But it was just like, even stuff like, that was my first introduction to chopping outside of the rhythm genres, is when I saw, I think it was Roger G do some in UK bass, and I was like, oh, that's interesting to apply that to a different genre. So I immediately took that, and I was like, hey, with my glitch hop and future bass, I'm gonna start chopping between that.
You could totally chop that stuff.
Yeah, and then even I've been doing it with drum and bass and liquid drum and bass, which is real interesting.
Because people do double drops, triple drops, of, drum and bass stuff all the time.
And
all the
you just learn, so watching all these other genres, because every genre mixes differently. And just being like, hey, I can take that technique or that style of transition and apply that to what I do.
Yeah. I even find like, when you do back-to-backs, you mix with other people in the same genre, people mix differently. Like it's different.
Which is sick. That's really cool.
Yeah, which is awesome to watch people, and they're like, when I mix out, I try and use the filter more rather than using EQ. Some people do it differently, and then like you can get into those like deep conversations. It's like, oh, but what do you do then when you're not on a Pioneer mixer? Like, how do you mix out then? It's like, oh, well, I'm just not as good on those mixers. It's like, well, like, maybe you should like try this one. It's like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, because everything's got its strengths and weaknesses.
And you always look at it as a way. It's like, or I look at it anyway to be like, this is another tool I can add to my tool belt.
Yeah.
If I know 20 different transitions using a billion different tools, that means whenever it's appropriate, I can just pull it out and be like, sick, I'm going to use this here and it's going to be the most effective.
Yeah. And even like you can like, give other people go, oh, how'd you do that? I've never seen that. Like, especially because I've got one of the RMX 1000s.
Yeah.
So I've had it for years and used it for years. So I don't practice on it and stuff like that. I haven't used it in years, but like to practice.
Yeah.
But I know all the functions of everything and where it is and how it works. So it's like, I can use that thing pretty competently.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not amazing. Like you'd have to actually like sit there and practice because there's so many things you could layer on top of each other, like and do at the same time to
Yeah.
build something up, and then so it's like the potential with those things is like
Oh
incredible.
yeah, like the ceilings through the roof.
Incredible, but you just know, like I don't spend enough time practicing on it. But I don't play gigs every weekend or anything. I'm not touring. If I was like doing a world tour or something. And I had one of those, I'd be like, all right, world tours in a month. I'm going to spend all month working on a banging set and have like options and tunes, but then have like these actual little like
performance
bits where I know I can mix this into that and in the build up, use all these effects and loop it and all that. I'd totally be doing that.
That'd be sick.
Because that'd be amazing. And there's really small. You just take it with you.
Yeah.
Like, I think Dawley, yeah, I think that's how it's spelled.
Yeah.
The guy who does he mainly does like disco-y house stuff. He played at when it was Capulet Sub Rosa.
Yeah, yeah.
And he had he had normal CDJs that he would mix on, but then he had like this thing that he created, and it wasn't created, it was just like a road case that he customized to have one of the Roland TR8 drum machines and an RMX.
Yeah.
So he could like do all like drum patterns and he'd just do crazy shit. Like sometimes he'd just go and like run his fingers over it.
Yeah.
And then use like the build up effects, and it would just be this random drum, pattern that he's made in this build up that he just puts, echo and like beat rolls and all stuff and builds it up and then just like drops it out and it goes back to the track, and it's it's just sick because it gives you like that flexibility to do that cool shit.
At home, the controller I use most when I'm out at events DJing is a little Roland 707M.
Yeah.
And the dope thing about the Roland line of controllers is, one, the preamps are baller. They're so much better than everything else on the market. Your sound quality you're pushing out of them is real tight. But they have an 808 built in, a 909 built in, and the actual chipset.
I think I've seen those ones. Yeah. So you actually sort of got a bit of a drum machine as well as a and then controller. They have I remember seeing them come out and I thought, man, like that really could change the game. Like I think if that's like that kind of stuff's like the next level of where it's going, because we went from CDJs and all that and basic controllers where controllers were just controllers.
Yeah.
Even though back like in the day you used to do like crazy mappings because you had to map all your own controllers. Yeah. So you just do like crazy shit. Like
thank goodness you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, but you used to do like because you could do that. People would have like these crazy mappings they'd created for things, so you could download them and like do them. So like instead of like a pitch wheel, it'd be like an effect.
Yeah.
Like it would do it for an effect parameter, and you could do all kinds of crazy shit.
You can hook up like the flanger to the jog wheel
like
and
anything,
just be like,
man. Yeah, it was so cool because people used to like then know how to do that.
Yeah.
So it's like if you had an idea for something cool that you could do, you would be able to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Like I used to have a nano pad. It had like 16 buttons, 8 buttons, and then a little XY controller, and it was just USB and it was MIDI, and I'd set it up to like effect parameters, so they'd be all like effect parameters, and then this would just be like, this would be the on off, and then this would be like, like one parameter is up, one parameter is like the other way, and so you just like get out and hold like a guitar and be like doing like beat roll effects and shit, like and holding and like and then it'd do like beat rolls and flanges and all kinds of stuff, and use it as like an effect
piece,
but an effect like thing and out there, but really like messing with stuff like beat roll and stuff that's really gonna chop it up and like make it sound like you're doing something, not just like a filter or something like that. Actual sort of pretty hectic effects.
Sort of where you're leaning into it, you're turning it into an instrument rather than a
you really sort of you're really leaning into that performance side. So when you're up there, people can actually see like, oh, he actually is doing something. I can hear it.
That's
like,
always I always think that when I see any sort of performers, but especially ones using like backing tracks or anything like that, it's so important for the audience to be able to see what you're doing and then line that up with what they're hearing.
Yeah.
And if you do that, your crowd response is like crazy. Even when you're DJing, it's like nothing's, at least for me anyway, nothing's more disheartening when I hear this massive, awesome transition and like I see the DJ and I'm like, oh, what a sick transition. And their hands are in the air and you're like, that's a mashup. nothing wrong with mashups, but it's just sort of like I was so keen to watch that DJ pull off something awesome, and
Unless they've done it and they've already done the bit that they need to do, and then you've just looked up and they've already done like the bit to get it all in time, and then they're just like they're both playing, they're in time. I know what you know what I mean.
That's it.
There's two different, but I know what you mean. Like ones where it's like you look up and the whole time they're not touching anything. Like
that's a real party mashup stuff though. That's real different because I do the same thing when I'm mixing. Is like my actual transition, the one you didn't notice, was 30 bars ago.
Yeah.
And it's just now that you're actually hearing the build up or the drop or whatever you're switching into.
Tune, I really love that, like being in the mix for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm just like playing here at frequencies. If you're at a club playing at a venue like Prohibition
that's
main
a different
room,
ball game.
Prohibition main room, I'm not going to sit there and like mix two tunes for a minute and a half or anything, or 2 minutes. Maybe I will, but
depends on your audience. Depends what you're playing
and that. But like, I love that. I think that's really an old school mentality of like, mixing, trying to mix for as long as possible. And I suppose that maybe that's more the genres I used to be in back in the day. So, but I love that. Just trying to make them both work.
Yeah.
Make it work.
Yeah.
Not almost sound like one song, but two songs, Yeah. That's my favorite sort of thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love being able to be like, okay, I do it more in drum and bass than anything else, but it's like when you get a lot of drum and bass DJs who are really fantastic at it, where they're just sitting there with 3 tracks playing simultaneously and they're just EQ'd perfectly that you just hear it and you're like, wow, that's a really cool track. And if you want to do a cheeky Shazam, you're like, it doesn't work. It's because they're doing it then and there. That's real.
Yeah, there's
real
two
that
you can't really. I used to always think of it as, I used to explain it to my like my music friends who did, because I did classical and all that kind of stuff. We used to be in like symphony, like wind symphonies and symphony orchestras.
Yeah.
I used to explain it to them as, it's like you're conducting 2 bands at the same time.
Yeah.
But they're the most absolute perfect bands in the world. They never miss a note. Everything's spot on in tune every time.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because you're playing the tracks. But then you can choose if the low instruments play in this band.
Yeah.
And the low don't play in this band and the high. So I sort of like explain it like that, and it sort of comes across for those people a little bit better. And I think that's such a good way to think about it when you're trying to do, make it sound like one song and mix stuff together, is you want to make it so it's one band playing, but it's 2 bands, but they're both playing different parts. Like, you don't want that clash and overlap.
Yeah.
Which, I sort of find a lot of newer DJs, they don't really care if there's that overlap and clash of EQ and frequencies and stuff, but I don't know, man, like these days, what are we all playing when we go out, like when people go out, you know? Like it's like you gotta everything's out the window at the moment.
But like usually it's like so many venues are like, we want top 40 commercial remix or whatever their popular genre is, but they're so hot on the quick turnarounds that your only transition is fast cut, beat match, fast cut. Yeah. And you move on.
That's it. You sort of got to go in and out with those things for the commercial stuff, because people want to know the song they're listening to. Like commercial, that's what commercial is. They want to hear familiar stuff. Yeah. Which is weird. Like, for people who love music, it's kind of weird to think that. And even people who say they love music and then they're like, oh yeah, I love, and they just list
I love all genres. And then they list the most popular song of the top 20 genres, and you're like, I appreciate your effort, I really do. Keep doing what you're doing. But
I actually do hate that saying, like, I like all genres or I love all genres.
Oh yeah, like, give me 30 seconds on my laptop and I'll prove to you that you do not like all genres.
Because there's definitely ones you don't like. I mean, you can say you appreciate all genres.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but
and that's a good thing to be behind as well.
Yeah, it's fine to appreciate all, but let's be real, no one likes all genres.
Like, I'm going to play you some Norwegian throat singing with a heavy back there. Oh, so good,
that
right?
shit's sick. Yeah, I'd love to sample
I should have picked a better example.
No, but for, some other people who aren't weird like me would probably,
they would be like, this is weird. Why are they doing that with their mouth?
Because, there's always a genre that people aren't going to vibe with, and that's just how it is. You know? Like, so, I just think it's weird when people say that.
Oh, you're throwing death metal and you're like,
I love all genres. It's like, well, this, oh, fuck, that's terrible. Yeah. It's like, oh, come on, man. Like, you can't say it and not mean it. Yeah.
It's like, but yeah, you can definitely appreciate all genres, and that's a good thing to move towards, to be like, okay, I'm not going to enjoy listening to this long term, but there's always going to be elements there that are just going to be like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Like I'm not much of a house guy myself. Sorry, all my house friends. I love you all. But but yeah, I never sit at home and go, man, I could listen to 3 hours of house. And when I go out, if it's not a friend I know playing, I probably won't go.
It's
see
not
a
like
house.
you go to a house club just because you want to listen to that music.
But like when they talk about it and they talk about what makes house special for them, I get it. Like, you know, I really understand. It's like that.
So what are your what's your genre then? Like if you like, obviously we can say we like all genres, we appreciate all, but what's like, you know, if you could play or listen to anything right now?
It's really hard at the moment because, you know, there's a you know, where we're at with music is the crossovers are insane. Yeah. You know, your genres are just blending one into the other. Into the other. For me though, for like what I like playing or when I'm DJing, my favorite is like this weird, you know, when you hear it all together, it makes sense, but individually, it's like these are a lot of different genres. It's like I like my real hip hoppy vibe of glitch hop. I love my future bass, but the full spectrum, because future bass is like one of the most expansive genres out there. It's like it covers the full BPM scale, and it's just every mood or theme or that. There's so many varieties in there. So like,
is it just more what defines it then? Is like the sound, like the synthy, like those. Sort of you know, like the, I don't know how to describe you know, for future bass, that the synths that do the kind of stuff, or
I
like,
really do appreciate like the big the only way to describe it is like soaring synths that are like huge, but then like the intricate overlaps between like that glitch hop feel and the future bass too, real nice, and then drum and bass on top of that, some house, some electro, some electronic, you know. When you say it aloud, it's like, oh, that's 20 different genres. But like, when you piece it together in a set...
it's like, oh, so that's like all the genres, pretty much.
Yeah. But like when you piece it together in a set, if you've ever heard one of my like mixes from start to finish, it's like, oh, no, we are hitting 10 different genres, but there's tying themes throughout all of them. Yeah. You know, it's and it hopefully, like the goal is, I may or may not succeed, but the goal is like, we're going to be able to hit in an hour, we're going to hit drum and bass, glitch hop, future bass, electro house, dubstep, all this sort of stuff in an hour, and it's going to make sense.
I think that's the hard thing to do. Like, anyone can just play all those tunes in an hour, but to make it, like, program it and craft it so that it does, like, make sense, like you said, where there's
tells a story,
common themes, or you feel like it doesn't just jump from one thing to another, like it makes like it actually works. I think that's like what's important for someone who does open format, really, to have like a sound almost. Because you can play open format and have a sound, or you can play multiple genres and have a sound, or you can produce multiple genres and have a sound. But it's more difficult. You got to put a lot more work in, a lot more effort to you know, program the set and structure what songs you're going to play when, and then, you know, get the right songs too, because you can't, you know, you can't mix just any old, you know, if you're future bass song into any old drum and bass song. Like, you know, it's got to be, they've got to make sense. There's got to be some common themes or something. And
then you end up breaking a lot of the traditional mixing rules when you're doing that too. So much fun. I would recommend that for anyone. Get your basics down, get your understanding down, but then mess with it. It's so cool.
That's why you learn the rules. You know how to break them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, that's it. You learn all those tools so you can use them no matter what ballpark you've thrown in. Like what we were talking about with the controllers. It's like, what do you do when you don't have that? It's like, well, you need to be able to adapt.
I'm like the opposite now. Someone goes, oh yeah, we got RXs. I'm like, man, how do you use these things? Like, I was on one the other week when we were at the at thingy, and I didn't know how to like use, because you have to choose which deck it goes to and that. So I'm like, how do I figure out what deck it, like, you know, to make it? And then I figured it out, and I was like, oh, it's cool. It's just the transpose, like getting
I try and always get my hands on as many different decks and systems and programs.
I'll have to lend you my BCD 3000.
What is that?
I'll send you I'll have to send you a MIDI mapping file for it too. For Tractor. Well, I've mapped it in Tractor, but
who makes it? What's the brand?
It's a Behringer. It's my first controller.
I can get the mapping for it.
So no, but the one I've got set up, because some of the knobs and things don't work, because it's like I got one of those.
It's ancient.
21. Like, you know, my mate got it, so it's like, it's, you know, it's over 10 years old.
It's had a hard life.
And it's like, it looks like a piece of shit.
Hell yeah.
It looks terrible.
Yeah.
But I've taken it.
So I've
taken it everywhere and used it.
I got this dope little it's my backup controller. So if I'm ever doing an event out of town, I've got my main system. I always bring, you know, you want to bring spares if you're hours out of town from home. And my backup controller is this tiny little Numark that I kid you not is about the size of half an A4 sheet of
Yeah, that's brilliant.
paper. And it's like, it's just got everything.
I got a little Newmark MIDI thing too, yeah.
And it's like, it's got my turntables, my filter knobs, my EQs, my hot cues, crossfader. It's dope. Doing an entire set on that is so much fun. But you're like, you cut out 90% of the tools you have.
That's it.
And it's good to do that.
That's why it's a backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good to do that. And it's battery powered too.
Yeah.
That's the real thing. Is, my portable system that I take when I'm out of town is like, I can do 6 to 8 hours without getting hooked up to mains if I have to.
Yeah. Is that with a Jenny or do you have batteries for that?
So it's the whole system is wireless. So it has a Bose S1 if you've seen one of those. 300-watt portable speaker. Dope piece of equipment.
Yeah. So that's a rechargeable.
Yeah. And they last like 8 hours, something like that. They're real solid.
Yeah, cheers, man. Yeah, yep. So that's like the portable one. And then what about like, when you say you've got the portable one, that's the rechargeable speaker.
Yep.
And then you've also got that controller, or do you use your other one?
Yeah, so I've got that, the little Numark for that one.
Yep.
And then just plug it into the laptop and run off laptop power. You just put it in power saving and you're like, I can get 6 hours.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which is a good idea.
Yeah, I've got the Newmark controller I've got is I've never seen anyone else with it. I've never seen any videos of anyone using it, but the potential on it's huge. And I used to use it at like pubs and bars where you didn't have to actually like mix tunes, you're just sort of playing. And so sometimes I'd go and like hang with people and drink, and you could take this little controller with you. Like, I could take this little controller. It's wireless.
Yeah.
So it's Bluetooth or whatever. So you just have to be a bit of distance away, not too far. And it's got 8 buttons, a big knob, and then 2 triggers.
Yeah.
And so the buttons obviously are for triggering. I just used to use the big knob as a crossfader, left to right. And then the triggers, which is really cool, is actually they actually trigger and like an effect or whatever. So if you do the right one, it turns into an accelerometer for the x-axis.
That's
if you do the left
cool.
one, it goes that axis.
Yeah.
If you do both, it's like both. So you can have like effects and stuff on it. The other cool thing is that it comes with straps so you can put on your arm. So you could technically be like turning your arm.
Gosh, you got to show me that.
Yeah, it's really
so
cool. And it was like $100 or $120 or something back in the day, and I've literally never seen anyone use it.
Yeah.
And the only time I've used it really is, like I said, when I was doing pub things, I'd like have a beer with someone or whatever. I just go over there and just be like, next song, crossfade. You know what I mean? Like, and then just sit there and you don't have to like actually, sit there and do stuff.
Yeah.
Just for those little like pub gigs where you're not actually mixing, you're just playing like classic rock for an hour or something.
All that stuff's so cool.
Yeah, before you maybe get into some mixing or something. But yeah, then I also used it at a wedding because it was like I needed a wireless setup, and I had my computer and that all set up with a wireless speaker there at the actual wedding ceremony. Yeah. And so I was actually sitting in the crowd, triggering the music for the different, there's a couple of songs that needed to be played for them walking down the aisle, all that kind of stuff. So I actually used that then to actually sit in the crowd at the wedding and just like trigger the samples so I wasn't like up at the spit things, like doing stuff. So,
doing awkward stuff, that's it.
So yeah, there's some really cool technology that I think, in terms of controllers and all that kind of stuff could really take things to the next level, like live stuff,
Yeah. I was talking to Paul about that the other day, just like all the stuff that's coming out now. It's like, it's good to be able to, I always get like, sorry, all my Pioneer friends, I love you to bits, but CDJs aren't that red hot anymore. You know, there's nothing that they're doing that's revolutionary or above the curve. Yeah. So it's really, but it's an essential tool. You need to know how to use them. Yeah. They're real handy to get. I mean,
they're solid. They're club standard.
Yeah.
When you go to a big club, it's going to be decent CDJs.
And I can't wait to see what the next ones are doing now that they've got competition, That's really exciting to be like.
Because the one thing that I really loved about the Denon ones that were there was, and it's something that Tractor used to have that, I'd missed for ages, was just the beat jump. Yep. Where you can jump back 16 beats or something. And the handy thing you can do then is, if you don't necessarily know the song too well, but you want to sort of you've got another song you're mixing in, but maybe you triggered it 32 beats too late, or too early or whatever,
Yep.
you can just like jump back
Yeah.
and then it's in
Use that all the
you
time.
fix
It's
the
so handy.
transitions straight away.
Yep.
And like that was like the biggest thing that when I used to be on Tractor and use digital stuff was that I loved because I could get it in time, and if it was out of phase, it didn't matter because I could just beat jump, like just keep going and essentially be live looping, I guess.
Yeah.
Until it was in the right time,
that's so sick.
without having to actually loop. It's like looping it, but at the end of the loop.
Yeah.
Not at the like you don't have to trigger it at the start where it should start. You get to the end and you go, oh, I should have looped it there, and then you go back, and then it gets there and you just go back, and then you just keep doing it until it's like, oh, now they're in time, bang, and it drops,
and you're good.
Yeah.
But I love the new Denons, and I love them for the sake that it's like all this stuff that controllers have now had for the last 5 or 6 years. Like legitimately, it's like, okay, now it's on a standalone USB-able controller, USB-able deck, which is super solid. And it means it's like all that stuff you practice at home with your cool little slicer loops, your beat jumps, whatever else you're doing there, your rolls. There's so much you can do with them. And depending on what you're using. So I was talking to Paul the other day actually about the newest feature in Virtual DJ, which is what
Virtual DJ, man.
So this is the thing. For those that don't know, Virtual DJ has been kicking ass for the last 2 years.
There we go.
Yep.
We've been talking about this on the last few episodes about like, wonder what Virtual DJ's doing.
I can give you the lowdown of
all right,
everything
so let's
it's
do
been doing.
Let's do a little update on Virtual DJ. What's been going on there?
Okay.
Because I haven't seen it for.
Because it usually gets it's considered the run to the litter when it comes to
and it's considered the thing most people start on because it's usually has been
it's free
and you don't really need a MIDI controller per se. Like you just sort of
you can
give it a crack.
do
and it's
some
got
basic DJing
DJ
on the laptop.
in the name.
It does.
So
It's
people
easy to
search,
find.
like how do I do DJing on computer? Oh, Virtual DJ.
Yeah,
that must be a DJ program. I'm going to download that for free.
Yeah. So it's like to start off with though. Nowadays there is literally nothing it can't do that the other programs can do. So it's no longer left out of the ballpark. Built into it, it's compatible with 600 controllers and decks on the market.
Yeah.
So I can plug it into anything with the Pro version and just take control of it.
Yeah.
So I do it with the CDJs here, purely for the fact that the Nexus 900s don't have cue points, and I want to use cue points to do little tricks and whatever, little fun things. So I reprogrammed the beat divide to be like my cue points.
Yeah.
So now I can just go do. But the latest feature on Virtual DJ, which is the most hyped at the moment, is stems, and they've created a mathematic algorithm that can pull apart each different section of a song to a good enough degree. Obviously it's not going to be perfect, but for the sake of live mixing in a club or at an event or anywhere, it's like, this is really good. You can separate your hi-hats, your vocals, your instruments, your bass guitar, your drums immediately with no extra work.
Yeah.
Right off the top. So like if you're playing top 40 and you're playing like top 40 R&B, you can drop out the vocals from Yeah by Usher and then drop in the vocals of your next song, which is like This Is How We Do It or Crazy in Love or something like that. And then, because you can set it up on your hot cues to do the stems, or you can set it up on your equalizers to do the stem control. You can be like, okay, and now swap the beats, swap the bass lines, swap each individual instrument. You can do all that. And it does I would say if 100% is pure studio a cappella sort of thing, it's working at like 70%.
Yeah.
Which for live club stuff is perfect. Yeah. It's been really cool. But yeah, as far as features go, it's like it literally just blows all the competition out of the water. Now, back in the day.
And that's for like the Pro version though. Like, is there a difference? So is the Pro version obviously a paid version?
Yeah, Pro version is a paid version.
So what's the go with like the pay version? Like, because obviously a lot of the other programs cost money, and if you want to have the good version of Virtual DJ,
it's more expensive than the rest. Yeah.
Okay, so what are we talking for a Pro version?
$300 for the license. Lifetime.
Yeah.
So, and then, which is a lot when you're considering like Serato's 80 and then Tractor's like 120, something like that.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it at the end of the day, Virtual DJ's just got so much more going for it.
Yeah.
But the main thing, this is like...
But it's like the marketing then they need to get into.
Yeah, right.
Because the other brands are all... heavily embedded within the industry.
Everyone
already.
knows Serato. Yeah. Everyone uses Serato.
But I mean, the thing is, like I said, like everyone starts on virtual DJ, so many people. So it's not that it's not. Maybe these days it isn't. I think it's people who started.
Yeah, I will easily
a while
say
ago.
Pre 2018, it was worse than Serato. But nowadays, after 2 years of kicking ass, it's like,
Yeah.
this thing is actually the best tool we have. And I was even showing, it's like, I can take, if you want to get really crazy with it, I can go, here is my Rain motorized mixer. Here is my Pioneer 6-channel, whatever the new 6-channel one is mixer. Here are 2 Denons. Here's 2 CDJs. And here is a standalone controller. I'm going to plug them all into a USB box, and I can run them all simultaneously with Virtual DJ and lay that out.
Yeah.
Which is insane. All your peripheral devices, obviously, like the Pioneer standalone stuff, they put a lot of effort in to make sure that only works with Pioneer. So all the peripheral devices are a bit harder to set up, but they all work.
Yeah, that's like, like Tractor and Serato, they do work with, like Tractor.
Yeah.
And I don't know about Serato because I'm a Tractor user.
Yeah.
I don't really use it anymore.
Yeah.
But, it was like just the USB I would just go USB into each deck.
Yep.
And I just use the mixer
as a mixer. If they're linked with Virtual, you can just plug it into one and it'll control the lot, which is sick.
Yeah, that's even cooler,
which makes it quick. So if depending on what the CDJ model is, if it's any of the Nexus 2000s onwards, that sort of stuff, it's like I just plug it into one of them and I can hijack the whole unit. If they're running 4 decks and peripherals, I can just take control.
Yeah.
Instantly too. With the 900s, it's a bit clunkier. You do have to go into each one.
Yeah. Set it up a bit, settings and that.
But yeah, it's like, as for like everything else, it's been so good to just be able to go, okay, I'm going to turn up to a friend's place, doing a house party. He's got his controller there. I can literally just plug it and go.
Yeah.
He's got CDJs there. I can plug it and go.
Yeah.
Really streamlines the whole thing. Plus, this is my personal favorite and like the number one reason I stick with it over everything else. Because, I play off USBs when I have to play off USBs, but for the most part, it is Virtual DJ. Is I can just go, I lost my train of thought. There you go. The file management is quicker.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's the same with all digital.
Well, yeah,
like digital. I don't know. What
I mean, just having
DJing
to cut out the export process saves you so much time. But it's even the case of if you're scanning in Serato Record Box or Tractor, each one of those takes about 5 or 6 times longer than Virtual DJ does.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing, because I do mainly commercial work, it's like when you're dealing in the 10s and 20,000s of songs, your file management matters so much.
Yeah.
And the fact that I can, with that,
I love that you can have the 10 to 20,000 songs and you can recall it so easy because you can search and you've got a keyboard there.
It's got a filter system too. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So if
as long as you do you have to tag everything correctly?
There is some level of automation and it's good enough for the most part.
Yeah. You just find one, you're like, oh, that's not in the right spot. You just like it as something else.
Yeah, you can even just group stuff together and be like, oh, filter dance hits from the 2000s.
Yeah.
And it'll just immediately pop up a list for the 2000s.
Yeah.
I can go on for hours. There's so many cool things that it does that no one else is quite doing yet. For a while, it toyed with the Spotify integration. It's got some...
But that's so hard because, you can't... I mean, you can't...
We're not there yet.
You haven't...
No one's there yet. That's the thing.
The internet's not good enough.
We're just not there yet. But it has got its own standalone one through IDJ Pool, which is solid. It's got a ton of... So you can just be like, here's my version of the song. I want to find an intro mix. You go, click on the song, and it goes, here are the intro mixes.
That's cool.
And it's right there. And if you got internet,
so it's starting to integrate then the system with other available music out there. It's like you don't just have to have it on your computer, which has always been the big thing that's been the downfall for people, maybe more the commercial side of it. Like when you're playing a gig, you're like, oh, don't have that song. Like I know that song. Yeah. That's a cool song. I want to play that for you, but I actually don't have it. Yeah. Like I can't play it. But that sort of fixes that problem because then you can play it. Like I've done weddings or I think my mum's 60th or whatever, where it was like, man, I am not going to download all of this music that I do not want. Yeah. I'm going to just make a playlist like Spotify and, a Spotify playlist. And if I want to play one of the songs in there, I'm just going to drop it in and mix it in. I'm not going to actually try and beat match it and stuff. And that was, I was great for that, like for a little thing like that. But if you actually want to mix it in, you can't do that.
Yeah, so this fixes that problem.
That fixes that. The other thing is that really fucked my Spotify up for a few months.
Right.
Because it was like, because I love my Discovery playlist. And then it started just giving me like all like rock and like, old throwback rock tunes. And I'm like,
you're like, I heard you like 80s music, so here's too much of it. And you're like, no, please, I'm begging you.
I'm like, oh no, I've stopped. I'm like, I shouldn't have done this. I should have got a different account or something.
Yeah. All that stuff's
or
so
maybe
handy.
there's a way to do it.
Yeah.
To
not butcher your
the algorithm.
Yeah, and that's it. Having access to all that sort of stuff when you're working commercially on like a huge variety of events.
Yeah.
Because I've done everything at this point. You know, if you
have you done a bar mitzvah?
Yeah.
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 I haven't done a bar mitzvah. It's probably the one thing that I'm like, I can't remember who it was. I think it was maybe might have been last week with Garud.
It wasn't like a bar mitzvah, but it was like a celebration of age sort of thing. But like I've done fashion shows, boxing tournaments, like all this crazy stuff. And just
you got me thinking about what's the weirdest thing I've done. I'm trying to think. Like I don't know. I'd have to think.
You got to go deep into the tank for that.
Yeah, it's like, what have I done that was weird? Like,
give us a 20-minute break and we'll come back with the weirdest weirdest event we've ever DJed.
Yeah.
But it's like, all that stuff's awesome because at the end of the day, in my personal collection from all the DJ pools I've been subscribed to with the company I work for, their collection too, it's like I'm capping 45,000 songs.
And you actually need to have like a system where you can either have it, like you said, tagged, or you can at least search for things. Like that's what I used to love because, if you're playing and you're like a little bit drunk, a bit tipsy, and you're like, oh, what's that song? Like, I don't remember who it's by, but I'm sure it's like got this in the title, and you like just type it, and it can be like one word in the title or something. Yeah. And then it'll show you all the list, and you go, oh, that's it.
There it is.
And there it is. Yeah. And so it's like it almost meant that you didn't have to. It would almost give you that flexibility that you're not locked into a set. Yeah. You can plan a set roughly or whatever, but if you just have this harebrained idea out of nowhere, and it's this song that you've got on your laptop from 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and you're like, that song would mix perfect now. These people would love it. This is what I need to play next. You can just do it easy. It's not like you're like, scroll through like what playlist is it in? Like what is it and where it is? And I think that's something that they need to bring into the new systems, which I know they have the touch screen thing. Yeah. But I think it needs to be I don't know. But easier.
That's
link to your phone, and your phone has a keyboard.
That's a good idea. Let's make that happen.
Like Pioneer.
Hit us up. Yeah.
Sponsor us too.
We got that. Do it.
Yeah. Or Denon. Or Roland.
Look,
anyone.
I froth Denon and Roland, so sponsor me, please.
Well, I'd love
I spend a lot of money with you guys.
I'd love to get heaps of the Roland gear in here for the studio. So much fun.
But like one of the other things still on the file management is what makes it so quicker is Serato's crate system, Tractor's file organization system, record boxes, playlist system, and all of those. If you've set something up on that, it automatically, you don't have to do anything. If it detects that program on your computer, it's there. It's there in its own section, ready for you to use. So if you're like, I use Serato.
You mean Virtual DJ does?
Yeah, Virtual DJ does. Yeah. So if you're like, I use Serato for my performances because it has really good synergy with my turntables and whatever you're doing with that. If you're using Virtual DJ, that stuff's sitting there waiting for you. That's real cool. It's already organized in its crate system and it's hanging out.
So they've sort of figured out a good way to almost bootleg or hijack all the other systems to work as one sort of thing. That's what it sounds like. It's like you can sort of bring you. So
they don't punish you for using other stuff.
They've sort of made it user-friendly and easy for you to transition from one to the other. Because it's like if you are a Tractor or a Serato person, you've got your crates and your different playlists or whatever, you can just like import it straight away. Yeah. Which is so smart.
And it's so quick too. And like
all they need now is like a really big DJ to start using it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's what you're waiting on.
That's, to get the word out.
To be like, hey, come check this out. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm not quite there yet, obviously. I don't have a big enough
I was like, I wish it could be me, but probably not.
It's like I support the program like crazy. But like I still learn I know how to use Serato, Tractor, and Virtual DJ. And then obviously Denon standalone stuff I can use, and then Pioneer standalone stuff I can use.
I've like honestly, if you can DJ on most like standalone stuff, within 15 minutes you should be able to figure out how it works.
The tool's the same, they're just somewhere else.
Like I said, it was just about, for me, it was just about how to choose the track and make sure it goes on the right deck or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was plugged into record box too. So it was like the same time it's like, you must eject record box or do like, it was like telling me something. I'm like, oh man, why can't you just be Apple and work? Like, you know, plug and play.
Or just anything but Pioneer and work.
Yeah. Just work, please.
It's like
Although
Pioneer.
they've got a new one coming soon.
Yeah,
I've just seen like
the
there's just been some
3000s?
videos there, sort of teaser videos and stuff. I haven't looked at them. Haven't.
But I'm excited for
into
them.
it.
I'm
Yeah,
really
they look
excited.
Good, do they?
Yeah, just for the fact that it's like now you've got some actual competition that is like if you're looking at like the basic, you know, take all bias aside, the Denons are outperforming the CDJs in everything.
Yeah.
Without
Features,
question,
all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
it is without question a standalone, better and cheaper device. But Pioneer's had the market for 20 years, so good luck taking that back.
Yeah.
So it's like
people aren't just going to buy like new random Denon like gear.
Oh,
it's
if I
gonna
was
be
building
slow.
the club, I'd be like Denons, and all the DJs would be like crossing their arms and pouting, like I don't want to have to export for Denon. And you're
I don't know, man. Like I reckon, like if I was starting and owning a club, I'd have so much. Like I wouldn't do that because it's just a good way to lose money. But unless you do it right.
Yeah.
But if I had enough, like fuck you money,
yeah,
that I could do that,
that's what you need.
I'd be like, well, I'm gonna get Denons and Pioneers. We'll have like
that's
4
it.
of each, and then like we just plug in whatever you just
I
want.
even thought
at the end of the
I would
night,
just be
at
like,
the start of the
here's my
night.
Denon setup, and here's a set of XR2s, for those that need it. You know,
It'd just be like we bought one of everything.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to use tonight?
we got one CDJ over here and one.
Yeah, I know. I meant one setup. You know, like we've got. If
That's
someone
the
wants,
dream.
if someone wants the old BCD 3000.
Yeah,
we've got one.
it.
We've got
that'd
one.
be so sick just to be like, here's all the options.
Yeah. What do you want? We can
do you
give you
want?
anything.
I got anything. You know,
And
we've
like-
got a computer running all the programs on it too. You want to DJ through Serato tonight? Let's do it. Like,
Yeah. That'd be fun. Like
be
I
so
even
much
said to because I haven't really known anyone who's on virtual DJ now, but
yeah, I know out of the like 150 million DJs, I know 3 dudes total that use it.
But then like the number of people that I've had on this podcast that started on virtual DJ, it's probably like at least half.
Yeah.
Or at least the ones who are a bit older.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure.
So I remember saying to him like, it'd be cool if we all just tried to use virtual DJ one night, like like just got it open and.
I'll host it.
But maybe
Yeah, I'll run that.
do it without. Maybe we try and do it without decks and do it like just with like a mouse and stuff.
That's
to
what
try
I
and-
loved about it.
to make it, because that's how all of the older people who started on it started, because they didn't have equipment. They're like,
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I sat down because
the old crossfader.
well, the thing I got given was a DJ program which everyone knows and everyone's used, called OTS.
No, never used it.
Yeah,
What is it?
exactly. No one ever has. It's such an old DJ program and it's fully automated.
Okay.
And it's like it was made for like Windows 2000 and XP
Well, maybe
and
I
stuff
have
like
used
that.
it. I
It's-
do remember some things where it's got like 2 turntables and you just press like the button and,
And
like.
it auto crossfades and auto.
Yeah, I've used
yeah.
that back in the day. That was like, that's old
That's
school,
old school.
man.
So that was the first
That's
one
before
I
I
used.
was DJing.
Yeah.
Like that was just like, oh, cool, you can make it do the
I
other
used
tune.
it once and I was like, I'm going to download Virtual DJ because then I at least have control over it. And then I think it was like a year after I started DJing, I got my first set of like controllers because I was just on the laptop and I was like, oh, I can learn how to mix, which was quite an experience after that because I got a set of old tractors to mix on and the headphone jack didn't work and this didn't work and this didn't work. And, so you just learn without it. And then eventually you upgrade and learn how to use all the other stuff and go from there. But
Isn't that so
being
funny?
sick.
Like when you first start, you're like, what? You can play 2 songs at the same time and make them work? Like, make it so
Whoa.
that it works? Whoa.
and it makes people excited too.
Yeah, but it's just you when you're in your room, you're like, oh, that's 2 songs. Oh. And it's
At
like
the
not
same
even it's not
time.
even like EQ'd, right? It's just like in time because you've either synced it or whatever. Like when
You just accidentally got it right.
Yeah, you got it right, and you're like, oh man, that's 2 songs. Yeah, that's so sick. Like that was such like the
That's
vibe
the
back in the
dream.
day. Yeah,
That was so good.
it was so good when you started. So
Yeah.
how did you start then? Like let's say how did you start?
I
how you
literally
started.
so I started with DJing or started with music.
Let's go.
Do we wanna go all the
music.
way back?
Yeah. We always go all the way back.
Okay, so the first introduction into music would have been when I was about 16 or 17. And I learnt to mix sound live from the church I was attending at the
Okay.
time.
What
And
kind of church? What religion?
a
was it?
Christian church.
Christian.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots of churches.
Yeah, that's true.
Even within Christianity, there's lots of churches.
There's like a million different denominations, but
yeah.
yeah, just the one I was at, and the dude that was running it, running the audio team there was a professional country musician. So I
dope.
learned a ton of him. That was sick. That was such a if you ever want to go out there and just learn how to do this stuff, go and volunteer for a church because they have all the equipment there for you to learn.
Yeah.
And if you're like, hey, I want to help out, even if you have no belief or whatever, you're like, I want to help out, I want to learn this stuff. They'll be like,
yeah, sweet.
Yeah, dude, come along, we'll teach you. Used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
So that was sick. I learned how to do sound there.
So what year is this for 2016? Like how long ago?
When I was 16 years old, that would have been.
Oh yeah, sorry, when you were 16.
2010.
Yeah, cool.
2010, 2011.
Yeah.
2011 is
cool,
when I started.
Yeah.
And then did sound for a couple of years. Did lighting with that as well. Learned how to use my DMXing and all that, and then started playing drums in 2012. I think I started. Was that? And same thing, just playing in churches, which was dope experience, because you get to play with a live band every weekend.
You don't know Mossy or was it Aaron Lee Northie? They were big into the
name sounds familiar.
You'd know Northie, I reckon. They used to play the the Toowoomba festival that was the Easter one.
Right, I'm from New South Wales, so it's like
all right.
Different
he's from Central Coast, New South Wales.
Damn it, I'm from Northern Rivers, so
I don't know New South Wales.
A bogan country, that's where I'm from.
But because he was big into that world as well. Like he's quite religious as well, and he's played a lot of those things and used to do a thing. It's like everything you're saying is like, oh, I started playing drums. I was like, oh, that sounds like Mossy, who used to have a band with.
It's a common story.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yep.
Have you heard of Airports?
I have. I have heard of Airports. There you go.
So that's Aaron.
Yeah, that's sick. So started doing that, which was just good experience. And did it, you would do it hundreds of times over the year.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. From then, I didn't actually have any interest in following music as a career. I just did it because I liked it.
That's the best way for it to start for anyone, really.
Yeah. And I still, to this day, I'm still a bit like, how did I end up here? But so I just kept doing that. And then I moved to Brisbane to go to uni, not to study music, to study photography, and did that for ages. And then, just kept doing music bits here and there. And I even came to a place where I was like, no, I'm going to stop doing sound and I'm going to stop doing lighting so I can focus on my graphics design and my photography.
Yeah.
And it just came to it would have been 2017 or end of 2016, start of 2017, that sort of time period where I was just in between jobs. I needed a job. The company I work for now was hiring DJs, but only trains from the ground up. And I was like, well, I've done sound all this time. And at this time, I'm still doing live sound in some of the small venues around Brisbane.
Yeah.
And popping in and out of that.
So you understand sound. You understood it. Yeah.
I got my technical capability down. It's just learning. And I knew music too. So I applied for the job actually first time in 2015 and got knocked back for it. And then at the end of 2016, I applied again with my updated CV. And my boss told me the reasons he hired me is on my CV, I put the 2 special skills. Number 1, I can lift heavy things. Very valuable skill. Yeah. And number 2, the Facebook game Song Pop?
No.
It's a song guessing game. That is just, it plays seconds of a clip and you have to guess what the song is.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can play with people all over the world. I was well into that at the time. And I held the world high score for electronic music for about 2 months. So I put my
2 months. That's good enough.
Yeah, I put my screenshot of that down. And the thing is, most people playing it just don't know it. It's not that I knew it any more than anyone else that would actually know electronic music. It just so happened everyone else. So I was 7 in Australia overall and then 1 in the world for that niche. So I put that screenshot in there and he was like, music, you can lift heavy things, I'll hire you. And then from there, it's just like, I started DJing, turned into quickly I'm doing it, 50 times a year, 60 times a year. And now the last 2 years have been 150 times a year, 150 times a year.
Yeah.
To
bulk.
200 times a year.
Getting right into it.
Yeah, that's what I always good advice for anyone that's like trying to, up your skills as a DJ, something really good for you. Go and work commercial jobs and just do the rounds for a couple of months, Bust your balls.
It's just time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's important.
And smart learning too, because this is the other big thing too. It's like the time that's being put into it. But in that environment too, I'm there with 15 other DJs who are all there for each other. And you're not hiding your tricks. You're not hiding your tracks. You're just being like, hey, check out this. And you would learn from each other.
So where is this at then? What are you talking about here?
So this is, the company's called G&M Event Group.
G&M, yeah.
Yeah, primarily weddings, but also everything comes within that bracket. And it's just, all employees and all the DJs that work for them. That's how I learned. I just learned off those guys.
Yeah, okay.
Which was sick. And like the dude that's taught me the most probably has been DJ Brian Davis or DJ Davis.
Yeah.
Who's primarily a country DJ.
Yeah, it's cool.
I don't like country music at all.
I don't even know how you are a country DJ. Like, so they don't mix. It's just like
go check out some of the stuff. No, they do mix.
Well, that's what I'm. That's
Yeah,
what I'm wondering.
yeah. There's some solid mixing stuff. Some of the country DJs are really fantastic. But
I probably shouldn't. I'll probably get too into it. It'll take up too much time.
Oh, that's right. You're from the country, aren't you?
I'm
Do
from
you have a soft
like
spot?
Cairns, Townsville. Nah, not at all. I'm not a country guy, but I just know that I can get into stuff a heap, and then it's like I'll just be obsessed with it for a month, and I'll be like, why am I listening to country music? Like, what's going on?
To
like,
this? I regret this decision. Yeah,
I just know my personality, so I'm like, sometimes I'm like, that sounds cool, but I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, but that
Because
whole
I know,
team. Yeah,
I know myself.
I'll just get trapped in a rabbit hole. But yeah, so I learned off all those guys as I was working. So that was a cool thing to be like, oh, I'm already getting paid for this. The only thing this is the most important thing when you're DJing, your song knowledge, your song selection.
Yeah.
Like your technical stuff, you can learn all of that. And if you want to go from I can't mix it all to I want to be mixing club standard, you're like 2 weeks. 2 weeks of lessons and you can get to a spot where you're pulling off something solid.
It depends. Some people learn quicker than others.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. But I've taught people.
But yeah, you can. Like, there's some people who a couple of hours they can probably go and play a set somewhere. Just because especially if they're have some musical background.
That's
and
usually it.
They understand a bit of if you get someone who's a music producer.
Yeah.
But hasn't DJ'd.
Or even just if they can already speak the language of music. Yeah. You're pretty safe.
Yeah.
To teach them quickly.
Yeah, yeah. You've got to have a little bit of background and stuff like that. Yeah.
That definitely speeds up the process. So I picked up quick because I already played drums. So you're already speaking in beats, bars, and phrases.
Yeah.
You're already doing all of that.
And you already have rhythm.
Yeah.
So you can
your timing's
you can hear it and you're like, oh, that's out of time.
That's whack.
Those two are not in time. You can actually pick it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Important, yeah.
That was sick. So still play drums. Still get lessons for that too, which is good.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Still DJ, get lessons for that too.
But haven't started the production journey yet.
No. The thing with production has always been I've done studio recording, but for bands, because that's the other thing. I'm actually heaps into rock, metal, punk, and I've been involved in that scene somewhat as well with drums, with live sound, with live lighting.
Yep.
Which has been sick, and I love that stuff to bits. But with production, the thing that has always been stopping me has been I haven't found anything that doesn't exist that I want to exist.
Yeah, but that's because it's not that it doesn't exist, but it's
No, I mean everything that I want to listen to exists currently.
Yeah, I know, but that's not what to me that's not what music production is about. My sort of interpretation of it and when I go in the studio is that it's about creating something.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it exists already.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's totally new or out there or some weird thing. It's going and I actually enjoy the process of creating.
Yeah.
I enjoy the process.
Yeah, I love that.
Which,
well, that's what you want
my tracks don't do too well. They're not amazing bangers. They're not amazing tunes that go off that people are going to play out at clubs and all that stuff. But I love making it, and I enjoy the time when I am making it. And just those moments when you have things happen where you're like, oh, those two things work. Those drums and the bass line work so well. And it's it's just those moments for me. But it's I don't go into a lot of the times create something specific that I'm like, oh, this doesn't exist. I'm going to create this new thing, or I'm going to make something like this, but different. It's sort of, you just go in and you go, let's make something.
Ah, sweet.
That's how I see it.
It's
it's not, because then it's kind of when whatever you end up with, you're like, cool, that was cool. But it's always going to be in a certain, vibe for me because it's what I do and what I know. But even after this is done, I'll show you a drum and bass tune I started the other day.
Sick, yeah.
It's not, I spent an hour on it.
Yeah.
So it's I've just done I've got a little loop going, did a little bit of stuff, but that's what it is for me. It's it's actually not really about the end product and that kind of stuff. It's actually about the process of just doing it. And it's those, for me, it's those little moments, like you said about when you're at interval. It's there's little moments where you see see things that
and you don't
see. Yeah, and
it hits right.
Oh, but a lot of people aren't into that.
I definitely understand that because I suppose the reason that I haven't been thirsty to do it, I suppose, is a way to go about that is because I already get that with all the other creative stuff I do.
Yeah, see, that's it. So you know, like you said, you do photography.
So photography has been on the backbench for, I would say, the last 2 years.
Yeah. So what do you do? Like graphic design?
Yeah, I still do
bit of
graphic
video
design.
editing at the
Do
moment
video
too.
editing, yeah.
Zach's been helping us out to do some content stuff. So yeah, definitely some good stuff there. I've been loving it. So
yeah, basically, if it's a creative skill, I've tried it and I can do it to some sort of degree, minus painting and drawing.
I was about to say what it painted because I'm really bad at like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm so bad.
I can spray paint to some degree, but I can't.
I can't make it look good. I mean, I can press the button, but I can't make it look good.
Yeah.
But like, I almost considered for a while because I really like challenging myself.
Yeah.
I almost considered like every week, do a drawing 1 day a week.
Yeah. I've been
like
thinking about that too.
I know I'm really bad at it, but it's like
it's a learned skill. You can
do a drawing, like even as because I think there's real value for anyone in doing something that you know you're not good at.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of humbles you. It also is like it gets you back into that learning and creative, like trying to get better at something. Because a lot of times, you know, in life, everyone gets sort of like stuck in a rut and they're just comfortable. And so I think doing things that are outside your comfort zone that you know that you're really bad at.
Yeah.
But you just do them anyway to just get you in that
it
sort
pushes
of,
you. It really
to get
pushes
you in that almost that mode of change.
Yeah.
So you're like willing to change. Like, oh, I'm really bad at this. I got to like work on it. And then when you do something maybe in your real life that you should be good at, that you end up being bad at, you're like, oh, well, I know that I can just work on it a bit and I'll get better.
That's huge. That's such a valuable skill for people to learn, is just to be like, oh, I can change. I can get better at this, because so much you live so much of your life just going, I am who I am. I do what I do. And it's like, no, it's like people do not realize how capable they are until you show them. And it's like crazy. It's like, you know, if anyone wants to learn how to play drums, tons of people believe they can't do it. Give me give me 10 minutes of your time. Well, there's some exceptions. But some people that are like tone deaf or really just can't hear it. It's like that's super unfortunate. But it's like give me
majority.
It's
always a bell curve.
Yeah.
You know, like,
give me 10 minutes of your time, and anything you believe that you can't do, I can convince you that you can do it. You know, I can convince you that because that's all it takes. So many people live their lives going, I'm not a creative person. I'm not a creative person. And it's like,
well, have you ever tried being creative?
They may have tried, but the thing is, they've never had someone be able to effectively show them or communicate to them that it's like, no, you are definitely capable of this. You can do what you think you can't do. Let me show you one technique that's going to jumpstart you to think creatively.
Yeah.
And that can be DJing, that can be drumming, that can be sound production, that can be music, that can be any of drawing, painting, photography, anything like that.
Because there are little tips and tricks and hacks that will make you better. And it's like, well, maybe
they just help you think too.
Yeah. And if you learn some of those, well, you're going to be better than you were before you learnt them. Yeah.
Because that was like, I didn't learn a lot at uni, and I definitely regret that. You know, I spent 3 years there and I just came out of it being like, okay, I learned like such a small...
Was this for the photography?
For photography.
Yeah.
So I did...
what did you do?
Bachelor photo arts.
Photo arts?
Yeah. So I was photography and art. Did that, so which was cool because I worked in a art. I always had good feedback, and I just haven't done anything with it since then.
Yeah. So you do but you can do press shots and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I can do. So my photography skills are where they're solid enough to be professional. And then with art, I was doing some really cool stuff. In the space of like a mixture of. It's like this crazy multimedia design overlap where I would be able to construct sets, program lighting around those sets, incorporate photography into that, incorporate projection art into that.
Yeah.
And then
like you're creating an experience.
Yeah, and then configure this sound to go with it, where it's like, when you start designing sound in a space that's like so I was always programming in my 5.1 just to be like, here's your spatial awareness. So you could sit someone down in the center of the room and take them through a whole experience of that sort of stuff.
That's such a next level thing too, that I wonder if DJing will go there, because it can. They've done it in places.
That's my that's going to be my next project for the next
It's possible to
while.
do. Like we can there's so many things at the moment that are like possible to do that I don't think people are ready for. Like one of the things that I'd love to do with the podcast is have a and I've actually got to share the blog that I did today for Together Agency.
Yeah.
Where I've listed like goals of what how far and what I want to do, and video was one.
Yeah.
Getting individual mics is another. But eventually, like a 3 to 4 year goal is to do like a VR experience, so we could like have someone sitting here or sitting there or sitting there, and they can sit in and they can look around and they can see the lights here, they can see the rest of the thing, and they can actually be in the studio listening while we're talking. I think that would be so cool.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, but it's like it's a cool idea, and I could do it. But who's gonna like? It's possible. It's totally. We have the technology to do it, but who's gonna watch that? Like, probably, you know what I mean?
That's
like,
such a huge
if I was Joe Rogan, different story.
Different.
But I'm not Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
So
that's always the thing. Is like, at the end of the day, is there going to be an audience that's going to receive this where it's going to be worthwhile?
So you could just do it for like a gimmick to do.
Well, you could do it for yourself,
which would be cool,
which
like,
is fun.
Yeah. If anyone out there does VR stuff, like programming, actually, I know people who do that.
Yeah, never mind.
Hit me up. Otherwise, I'm going to hit you up.
You know who you are.
Yeah, you guys know who you are.
I will be calling you.
Pat, I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, there's so many of those things that it's totally possible to do, but it's like, was the market there for it?
Yeah.
And that's, one of the things.
That's true.
Like VR
and
stuff.
There's
even
definitely
VR in clubs. Imagine if you could be in the middle of the dance floor, put a VR headset on and go like, and there's people dancing all around you.
And
live,
someone doesn't spill a beer on you.
Yeah, yeah. And they're not, and you won't get COVID either.
And you're not sweaty.
You won't get COVID because you're not actually there. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I think there's so much potential, but it's like, we need to catch up, and it's getting there, because like 6 months ago, I would never video call people. Like, I wouldn't video call someone on Messenger or anything like that. Now, if I like want to talk to someone like actually talking, I prefer to video call them than phone call them, because it's like, well,
you can see
like,
their facial
why not?
response.
Like, because you're just used to it.
Yeah.
Everyone else is starting to get used to it. I do a lot of that stuff, so like I'm totally used to it. It's like pulling the phone up and going, "Hey, what's going on?" It's like nothing now. It's like, whereas back, a year ago, it was like, "Oh man, I'm not doing that."
Or if you would video call someone, they'd pick up and they'd be like, "What the hell are you video calling?"
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
And you're like, now it's just more
It'd be
commonplace.
weird or something.
Yeah.
And now it's like you video call someone and you're like in a group with like 6 people talking, and it's like, what's going on? Like, you're just hanging out. It's not even like weird. So eventually the technology, or not the technology, will catch up to the technology.
Well, people will catch up. That's the thing. Yeah, that's always been the thing. It's just been like, people have to be open to receive it as much as you're ready to give it in anything. But, in that music stuff too, which is really cool. Because, that's one of my ideas for Interval, was definitely just be like, okay, I want to start incorporating that, other artists, other artwork, other lighting designers, really bring everyone in to experiment and do new stuff with the
platform. You can
platform.
sort of do like live art when it's there. Like someone's going to do spray paint's hard to do inside, but a live, some kind of art throughout the night.
Yeah, I figured that out though. So that's actually on the long term. You know how you were talking about your goal. I got mine for Interval.
Yeah.
That's on there. There's quite a few cool things on there.
Because we used to do that with, I said earlier I was into the breakbeat stuff.
Yeah.
And so when we used to do some of our breakbeat stuff, because a lot of it was daytime outside and that kind of stuff, we sometimes would have, artists come in and do a
real
spray thing, like, throughout the day, and they like sit back, like, oh yeah, add this, and like someone would be like, oh man, you should add like a little, this in there, or do like this, and it's like, oh yeah, like what if we do it like this, and like you get a good artist to come in, and it's like, it's actually a really cool,
have you seen
just extra thing.
Any of the stuff with Brisbane Street Art Festival?
No,
because they do. Okay, so obviously this year they've had to go digital.
Yeah.
But
it's not street art. It's really, it's like,
well, they still do the street art. They just stream it instead, and they can only have the artist plus like one assistant there. So I worked the last, not this year's BSAF, last year's one, which was a ton of fun, just helping the artists do that. But they do some really cool stuff. So one of the things is Scribble Slam, and it's like live graffiti battles.
Yeah,
which is sick.
That's
so
sick.
They get given a topic, and then they get given 90 minutes to paint it. So they continued this on. It started at BSAF.
That's really sick.
And they've continued it at Rick's once a month as a standalone event on a Sunday afternoon, which is really dope. But yeah, all that sort of stuff has been incorporated into it. But that street art festival's dope. You get to see some really high quality artists do some real cool stuff.
It's really cool because like I've never been
they're
a
locals
big
too.
street. Yeah, I've never been a big street art guy or anything. But one of my work friends, lives just down the road, like opposite where the Wicked van
Yeah,
camper thing is, and there's a free wall there
Yep.
where people can just go and, you know,
Spray paint.
yeah,
and
yeah, they can just do whatever. And so she lives like right across from it. She's got like her balcony has like a perfect view of the wall. So she started like an Instagram thing called the Wicked. I think it's called the Wicked Wall. I'd have
Yeah.
to find it, but I'll put it in the show notes because it's really cool. Because she's like, I figured like I should document this because she's like it changes every day or two. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people come and pieces change and someone you know
That's
over
so
here,
cool.
and so like
Yeah.
she's like every like day or two or every week the whole wall might look different next week because people just like it's a free wall and like you know come over and then it's funny because there's sometimes she's like oh there's a big beef out there because like you know someone did a piece for someone who just passed away and another dude's just like gone over it with a shit piece.
Oh, they're
and,
like, here's
you know
my
what I mean?
tag.
Like,
Yeah.
but like no respect and like no you know like
Yeah.
she's like oh you know with the street art stuff she's like oh you know there's like a code like if you do like a memorial piece no one goes over it until you go over it kind of thing like it's you know like that's the kind of like the street sort of
The
thing you know?
the underground culture behind that is very
so it's interesting
There is a
like
code there.
learning that kind of like culture
It's really
and
cool stuff
yeah.
to look into. And if you can ever get involved in it, it's real.
Wait, two up have you seen that
Yeah.
those guys over in like Europe and stuff man
Yeah.
mental if if you want to see some cool stuff like two up and there's even I'll have to find it. There's a really cool video that was done in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And it's like this like, you know, stop motion almost, but it's like where they've done like artwork.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like it almost like it comes in and it's like a, you know, like a stop
Yeah.
motion thing and it comes in and it's like slowly moves down the wall and as they're going they're like painting it and it's like this amazing
That's
like-
awesome.
and it's like a whole like warehouse wall
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Oh, I have seen that.
You have
I
seen that? Yeah.
Yep.
That one's I
Yeah.
can't remember who it's by or
Yeah.
what it is, but it's a
It's
local
so
dude here
dope.
and it's amazing.
We've
Like,
got some great local street art too. It
Yeah.
was really cool to be able to you know, when you're working with them or helping them do whatever they need to do, just seeing everyone's different. It's the same as DJing. It's like you get to see everyone's different techniques and what they're doing, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is really cool. So I worked with this one graffiti artist called Duz, and he's from I want to say the Netherlands, but I'm not too sure. Real cool dude, real cool style. But what he does now, you know, he does so many different things, and it's awesome to follow that and watch what he does. But he like renders concrete and builds it off the wall for his
Makes it
artwork.
3D almost, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it's the same flat, artistic like lettering style that graffiti you've come to know with graffiti, but it's quite a different dimension with that.
So
And
it's actually, it doesn't just look,
Yeah.
it's not 2D that looks 3D, it is 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just got that style, and it was really cool because he built it like on a huge. It's like 30 meters long. It's awesome, huge. But then after that, I was like, this dude's cool. I want to follow him and see what he does. One of his cool art projects at the moment is he destroys walls that he's graffitied and then reassembles them in clear resin when he gets back to his studio to create a new piece of artwork.
I love like weird, like,
Yeah.
you know, like concepts like that,
Yeah.
like concept
Yeah.
stuff, like concept albums, concept art, concept stuff,
Mm.
where it's like, this is the concept, this is what we're doing. You know? And
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
I
yeah.
love the that's why I really do love lighting design
Yeah.
for that reason, to be like, it really connects between, you know, visuals and your music, and it really ties that together. When your lighting design or your lighting tech is really good, it's quite a noticeable difference. And that's one of the reasons I love it so much, is to be like, oh, I can really enhance this moment, whether that be in a club or whether that be at a wedding, whether that be at a show or a live concert or something like that. It's like I can really push this to the next level to really, you know, make something quite spectacular.
Yeah.
That medium for me has always been like, this is a cool crossover. This is
Yeah,
really
yeah.
sweet to do.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, you know, the visual and the graph stuff, like even like when you were talking about that, making it 3D, like what we used to do when we used to do the blah, 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 which
Yeah.
is our breakbeat stuff. We used to print out like the blah, blah, blah logo, or it'd just say blah in our like, you know, big, it was almost like graph lettering, but we just print it out, cut out the letters, stick it on like styrofoam. It's like that thick.
Yeah.
And then like we made a styrofoam cutter. It was just literally like a thing that would heat up a what do you call it? A coat hanger.
Yeah.
And you just like cut it like around the shape of the letters, and then you could just stick it on a wall, and it would have like the logo but sticked
so
out.
sick.
Like so
little stuff
simple,
like that.
so simple, so easy, so cheap.
Yeah.
But like, you know, it actually, like you said, you know, it makes a difference. It gives a dimension to something and gives it like a little bit of difference. And then people at
Yeah.
the end of the day will just be like, you know, like before the last headline like starts, it'd be like, "Wait, everyone, if anyone wants to take any of the blast signs, grab them now." And everyone would just like go like grab shit off the walls. And so for like a headliner set or like the main, you know, the main thing of the night, people were just holding these blast things. You know what I mean? Like,
sick.
yeah. So to be, but people would take them home and then you'd see like, you know, the
I would have taken
good
one
a
if I was
blast thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, you know, like stuff like that, it's like, I think is, you know, just artistic and creative. That's so cheap, so easy, but you know, it makes such a difference. And people go, "Oh, I could just take one of the signs home." It's like, oh, dude, it's like a piece.
You got to remember that.
It's a piece of colored paper with styrofoam on the back. Like it's not, you know what I mean? It costs
the memory
shit
attached to that.
But
is
yeah,
huge.
that's what I mean. If you can, you know, like create that moment where people are like ripping shit from they feel like they're like, you know, like
they're taking a piece of that festival home with them. Like literally, they are stealing from the festival. No, they're just, that's so cool. I love that sort of stuff heaps. And yeah, you're right. It's like you can do some really cool stuff for not a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like I built it was like this is back when I was doing art, was like a projection mappable cube display. So it's like a 3D cube abstract design, and then it would project my patterns and designs and all that sort of stuff on it.
Have you heard of Etienne de Cressy?
Yeah.
The box DJ?
Yeah.
So that's
cool.
You just reminded me of that. Yeah. If anyone hasn't seen him, Etienne de Cressy, look him up, box DJ.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Sick stuff. But yeah, so, and like I built this wall and it looks sick. And when you're in a venue or something, if you see it, you're like, oh, that's a really cool feature.
Yeah.
It's made out of Coroplast plastic. That stuff is like $3 a panel. That whole thing cost me $20 to build with $10 of Coroplast and then a roll of gaffer tape. And that was it. It's like you can really do some cool stuff for not a lot of money.
It's got to be creative.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You got to come up with the idea.
That's it.
But you can steal any of those ideas we just gave you.
Oh, definitely. And if you ever want any more, I'm filled with ideas and not a lot of time. So I'll give you some stuff.
That's me. I've got so many ideas, but just not enough time to execute.
That's it. Once you start, that was been the interesting thing I would say over the last like 5 years has been really developing any of the creative skills that I want to work on. Has just made it so it's like, oh, I can come up with a idea for something like so easily nowadays, you know. And the crazy thing is, like, you talk to creatives and they're like, oh, I've been stuck. It's like, yep. And you just keep working at it. And 5 years later, you're like, oh, it's so much easier now. You still get stuck every now and then, but it's like, as a whole, you're like much more, you know,
I kind of feel, and this is what I tell people with music production. Yeah. And people are like, oh, I've got writer's block. And I'm like, oh, bro, like, I don't think writer's block exists. I don't think that's a thing. What I think that is you just, because I think ideas, you know, they come quicker when you get better at using the stuff.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just don't come up with a good idea for a while. And that's just how your brain's working. You're just not being creative. And I think what it is people actually just aren't committed or motivated enough to sit there and just keep coming up with ideas until you come up with a good one.
Yeah, and let them be trash for a little while.
If you sit there long enough, you'll come up with a good idea, like if you're talented.
Yeah.
Some people aren't talented and they will never come up with good ideas, which is fine. But, you know, like if you're a talented producer or music writer or whatever, just keep throwing ideas.
Yeah.
They might sound shit, but you got to be able to sit there and throw shit ideas out until you hit a good one. And then it's, so I'd say, like, I always say to people, it's like, well, I don't think writer's block exists. I think it just means that you're not coming up with good ideas at the moment. But if you sit there long enough and keep coming with ideas, you'll come up with a good one.
So
and that's what I think, like, you know, so when people say, I've got writer's block, I'm just going to go and do something else. I'm like, well, yeah, you can do that, but
yeah, because sometimes you need to refresh, sometimes you need to reset.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone's different and I understand that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think what it comes down to is that you're just not willing enough, whether it's you don't have enough time or you're not motivated enough or you're not
or maybe you
feel
enough. Underskilled, you know, where you don't know the tools well enough to create something
I don't feel like that's what people who get writer's block are. If you don't know the tools enough, it's not writer's block that's the problem, I feel. They'll be like, oh, I can't get the idea in my head into the computer.
Right.
I'm talking about people who can, like, if they get an idea in their head, they can put it in and make it.
One of the
which is the biggest thing about production.
Yeah,
You've got to get to that level, but then it's like, well, if you're at that level where you don't know enough, well, just go and do some learning.
Yeah.
Go and watch
There's
a
so
tutorial
much resources
on
out
something,
there.
whatever the thing that you think you have a mental block or a writer's block on, Go and look, type that in.
Call up your friend that
Why
can do
can
it.
I not write a catchy melody and learn something?
Yeah.
And then come back to it. And maybe that's inspired you or it's changed your perspective or whatever.
And that's a big thing I actually found. And I sort of changed my thinking about this probably a year or a bit ago now, where it's like, people usually follow this linear progression of being like, I've been inspired, now I'm motivated, and then I'm going to take action.
Yeah.
And I had, I can't remember, it was like just one random YouTube video from one random artist who was like, a lot changed for them, and I applied the same thing, and I found it changed for me when they stopped looking at it as a linear progression, and instead at a triangle where you can start at any one of those points, and you'll get the result. So if you are not inspired and you're not motivated, but you still take action, the inspiration will come. Or the motivation will come. Or if you're not motivated and you don't want to take action, but you're inspired, if you start there, the others will follow.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really good way to get rid of a lot of excuses.
Yeah.
And that comes back to just sitting down until, you get done. And that's another thing too, I think I missed for a long time. And I didn't get for years of trying. It just occurred to me, it's like, I'm really not comfortable. I'm an outgoing, extroverted, crazy person that wants to be around people 24/7. I am not comfortable in a studio environment.
Yeah.
I am not comfortable sitting down for 8 hours by myself creating something, and it drains the hell out of me to do that. So then
that's why you're not haven't done the production thing, because that's what you need to be able to do. Like,
well, I always do it now, but I never used to be able to do it.
You could, because now you understand that triangle. You're just talking about action and motivation, but like a lot of people are like, they're DJs and like, oh yeah, I want to get in production. And it's like, well, there's like, production is such a harder skill than DJing. It's way harder than DJing, but DJing is more rewarding instantly.
Yeah, that's the big thing about
because you get the crowd feedback and you get the interaction and you get the
DJing
people.
is a creative outlet that has instant reward.
Yeah.
It's very
Production's
satisfying.
not like that.
Yeah.
Unless you can be into the process where it's like you create something and you're like, that's sick, I love that. And you have a little like dance around the studio by yourself. No one's here and you're like, yes, that bass line.
I love that stuff a lot more for the moment anyway. Is like, I can sit down in a studio and record drums and write drum tracks and stuff like that for hours. But
that's because that's what you know.
Yeah.
So you just need to learn the other stuff.
That's
true. I said, you need to figure out how to get the idea in your head into the computer easily and quickly.
I suppose a lot of people worry about this too, but like, I don't want to ever sound like I'm bragging or anything like that, because, I worked hard and I understand, because I have so many skills, I'm pretty average at a lot of them, which is just the truth. It's like I'm not above average at any of them.
What do they say? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, that's
me too, man. That's me too.
Do you know there's a second half to that saying?
Oh, what is it?
Jack of all trades, master of none, certainly better than a master of one.
Well, maybe. Debatable.
Yeah, that's it. But I suppose it's personal preference at that point.
Yeah.
You're just like, because some people are specialists and they're really good at their niche.
Well, that's what I mean. It depends what you're doing. Like maybe what you're doing is, and maybe you can be a specialist and other people help you with everything else.
Yeah.
And you've got the best
My
team.
personal preference, generalist. I really do enjoy it, being able to float between. And it's like the cool thing with that.
That's totally me too.
Yeah.
Man.
The cool thing with that is like when you get into certain environments, I don't know if you've had this experience yet, where you get to be like the director, I suppose, of an art project or
festivals.
Yeah, something like that. Anything like that, or directing your own event or stuff like that, which is really easy to get started. But being able to go, cool, I can communicate lighting, so I can talk to my lighting tech to get them to do what I want, and they'll understand me. I can communicate graphics, so I can communicate my graphics design I can communicate photography, I can communicate DJing. So if I want to do all of that, I can do it by myself at an average level, but having all those abilities means I can then communicate to everyone else about it and really tie it all together.
That's so important, because that's why I think you should learn things before you start to bring other people on and outsource. Like I've asked you to help me with some of the content creation and stuff, with the short clips and stuff, but I know how to do that myself already. So I know when you send me and I'm like, oh, the fade in, like maybe get rid of that. It's not like I'm just like, have no knowledge and would be like, like how do you do this? So I think that's really important, like learn it first, try it yourself, so you at least know the basics.
Yeah.
And then so that then when someone else does it, it's not like they just like, bullshitting you or whatever. You actually know a little bit about it where you can go, well, no, that's like, I know that's not right. Like I know whatever. You sort of have a little bit of knowledge on it already. I think that's a huge tip. That'll be in my next blog post.
Oh,
I've already got like a paragraph written on that. So
there's some promo right there. That's
yeah,
solid.
yeah.
But yeah, all those little skills too. It's like you can actually pull from pretty much any of your experiences. You can just pull from and apply to what you're doing now.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really cool. Because it's like I've done a million different things over the years, and each year it's like I do something else, and you're like, oh, I remember when I ran this back then. And
that helps you again. Yeah.
So it's like regardless of, this is one of the biggest things I tackled all the time, and one of the blockers that stopped me from producing music so far has been the fact that it's like, okay, I've spent so much time learning so many different skills, some of which I don't use anymore. I don't want to keep doing that. And then the realization is, it's like, well, regardless of whether I keep using that skill, I've learnt so much from that whole process.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, I can then take this and apply it.
Because there's things that you
it.
learn in music production that help with DJing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I suppose it depends on what the goals are as well.
Yeah.
What your goals are. So I need to go to the toilet, so let's have a quick break, we'll come back. We'll think about our weirdest gigs, and we'll circle back to the goals and what you've been doing during COVID, and then we'll wrap it up.
Sounds good.
So I know you got to go to a gig.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Fun fact that a lot of people don't know.
Oh, we're back. Fun fact.
Back.
Fun fact you don't know. Let's go.
In a lot of cases, if you have alcohol in your system and something goes wrong, you are not covered by insurance. So if you're working at a venue, or if you're working for yourself, check out your own policies, because I know a ton of DJs out there that are liable to any damages, including up to millions of dollars, just because they've had one beer.
Like
so
public liability and stuff.
Yeah.
Get
that
that if
checked
they
out.
can prove that you've had if something happens to you.
Yeah.
No,
if something happens to anything that's under your control, like, that's pretty intense. So check that out. Check out your insurance policies. Check out your venue.
If you've got like a personal, public liability insurance or something.
Yeah, even double check the venue that you're working for if you.
Yeah, but if you're like DJing at a venue, what are you responsible for that could go wrong? That could public.
The only thing that I have heard of has been stuff like you have spilt your own drink, whether that be water or beer, on a piece of equipment which has started a fire, which has caused damages.
Okay, yeah.
Potentially harming someone, something like that. It's just better to be safe, to be like, oh, does my public liability cover me if I have some alcohol in my system?
And it's a bit different when you're when it's, say, maybe you at a club as opposed to you
because you're covered by the venue then.
By the venue then, yeah. And it's
but
not your
check
insurance.
their one too.
Well,
they'll tell you. They'll tell you too.
But then it's their...
Yeah.
It's their
responsibility.
Not problem. It's their responsibility.
Ideally, you don't want anyone to get hurt, but if it were to happen,
because if something was to happen, it would be the venue's fault.
Yeah, because I know
unless you directly threw a glass at the crowd.
If you did something stupid, yeah. But it's a good thing to check out though, just to be aware of.
Yeah,
just to be like, am I covered?
We want to talk about. We were saying like our weirdest gigs, and I was thinking just while we were had a break, like. I don't have a heap of weird gigs because when I started, I was on college.
Yeah.
So I was sort of at that stage. They didn't really have anyone from college or uni who was DJing in Townsville where I started.
Yeah.
So I would just get booked for all the things because I was the college guy. Like, that's how I got my first residency. I played at the uni club, and one of the guys was there. And was like, "Hey, we're looking for someone from uni who like DJs and has can bring people from uni." Come in and meet the managers and all that kind of stuff and play a set, and went in and like, cool, and that's how it started. So I always just had
pretty
normal
stock standard
club gigs and standing. I suppose it's not even weird, but it was like I did a festival called Save the Ocean Festival.
Yeah,
and it wasn't like. It's like right on the beach. It wasn't technically legal. I don't know what the go was. There's cops there, but they weren't real happy. But yet, I don't really think I've done any like weird ones. I've done like weird ghetto ones, like at in college, like where someone takes a ute and we just put speakers and plug them in and have like on the back of a ute, but like ghetto setups. Like I've done ones with like on college where I've got like 3 sound systems and they're all linked together, kind of thing, into one, and like one sound system's playing the left channel, one sound system's playing the right channel, and then and that kind of thing. But I've never done any weird ones.
Yeah,
but you said you've done like bar mitzvah or coming of age. But what other ones have you done? That are,
So
like,
I've
weird
done a
ones?
handful of very strange ones, but like the one I mentioned before, I was mixing live sound for a. They would not call themselves a cult, and I will leave out any fine details to not insult them at all.
It was essentially a cult.
It was essentially a cult.
Yeah.
They followed the teachings of a one unified figure. And it was a very strange experience. It was very like if you've ever seen a TV show where everyone is in a cult and they all dress nicely, it was that sort of vibe the whole night. And like the songs they were singing in that, they were dedicated to their special being and all this sort of stuff.
So you weren't actually DJing per se, you're sort of mixing the tracks
Yeah,
they
yeah.
had or something? Or
I was just doing,
playing them
I
and
did
putting-
background music for them.
Yeah.
Which
when they
was-
weren't doing the song.
Yeah, but they had their own
cult songs.
performance pieces and stuff like that.
Performance pieces. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's what we call
I'm
them.
being very
Yeah, I can see that.
safe with my words.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'd work for them again. They were quite pleasant.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
nothing
I
they were
reckon
doing was
there's-
destructive.
some cults are good. I mean, I haven't personally been involved in any, but I'm sure some are good for some people,
Yeah,
especially the people who are running it.
just don't drink the Kool-Aid and
Yeah,
you're fine.
yeah.
Like you're so good. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but it was such a strange night too. And like it was so funny watching all the venue
How did
stuff.
that happen? Like getting booked? Was this through the company you work or something?
So it was through a venue that I work at a lot, and they had these people come through.
this booking and like, well, we need someone.
And we need someone who can run sound and do background music and all that. And because I work there genuinely almost every week.
Yeah,
They were like, yeah, we'll get Zach.
Yeah,
And
easy.
get that solid.
yeah.
And I did that, and I turned up, and I was like, oh boy,
Here we are.
this is and I got to
This is
hear
gonna be
all
an
their
experience.
teachings, and
Yeah.
it was weird. So there was that, but I've done a bunch of weddings. I've done more
I've
weddings.
done
than,
weddings too. Yeah.
I've done hundreds, like 300.
I haven't
400
done that
weddings.
many weddings,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've done a lot of weddings.
Primarily a wedding DJ, which is cool.
I always say for a while I was like, yeah, I'll do weddings, like, you know, it's all right, money and stuff, but now I'm like, well, I only want to do a wedding if like I know you, or it's
Yeah.
like someone who like a friend of a friend or
Yeah.
something. Like I'm not open to the public for weddings.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
like
it's a
gotta
different
be-
ballpark.
Yeah, it's gonna
It's
be
a
someone
really
I
different
know because
ballpark.
it's like I don't want to just. It's almost like doing a solid because I know with wedding DJs they can charge like huge amounts of money,
Mm.
and I'm like, if it's someone I know or a good friend of someone I know, I'm like, I'll do it. Like,
Yeah.
and I'll do a great job for them. Like,
Yeah.
you know, because I've done heaps of like
Yeah.
weddings and all that stuff. The one thing that I recommend for anyone doing like a wedding that will give you a heap of tunes to play throughout the night. Maybe not necessarily like the big dances, but we'll have a lot of tunes like for dinner time and and dessert and all that. Is the Rolling Stone magazine top 500 songs of all time?
Yeah.
Best top 500
Top five,
songs,
yeah.
of all time, and it's like it's from the like 50s through to
Till
the
now.
2000s.
And
Well, 2000s, 2010
Yeah.
sort of thing.
And you're
it's like-
appealing to a lot of audiences.
that's what I mean.
so
It
that
goes all
sort
the
of
way
things.
back. There's like Elvis, there's Beatles, that you know, all
It's
that
a good
kind of
mix.
stuff to like you
Yeah.
know, Michael Jackson and like
So-
you know, and all. But it's a lot of like 80s,
Yeah.
80s, 70s, 60s, 50s,
Classics.
because you can get all that other shit.
Easy.
well,
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
It's easy, man. You look up like there's like compilation albums that are like hits of the 90s, dance hits of the 90s.
You got to
It's
know
like-
your tunes though.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah,
yeah,
of
yeah.
course. But you know, like,
Yeah.
That's
It's
where
a
you can
good
just
starter.
grab 'em.
It's a
Yeah,
good starter, absolutely. And I remember the first few playlists I made. I just went and looked up top 100 lists, top 200 lists. In my current playlist collection that I'm building, because I decided to delete all my old ones. I do it about every 6 months so I don't get stale.
Yeah.
Deleted all my old playlists and rebuilding new ones. But in the new lot, I've built Billboard's top 100s for each year from 1950 until this year,
Yeah.
and then
But
Triple J's
only
hottest
the
100.
tunes that you like out of it.
No,
or
no,
you think that
all
work?
100.
Oh, yeah.
Because you get some niche circumstances where you're really going to find some gems there.
Yeah.
But that's like, it's so much more work than you have to do. But I've done a bunch of strange weddings. One of them, which was really good, was I DJ'd. She was the bride was the daughter of a bikie gang leader. So he led a bikie gang.
Yeah.
And these dudes were actually so respectful the whole day, which I loved.
Well, because it's like a wedding of
It was-
the person.
yeah.
Like, so the people who like, if the person who's like the main thing is like runs
Yeah.
the biker gang, everyone's keeping their shit together because they don't want to cause a big
Yeah.
scene in front of the guy.
They treated
who's
the
their
staff
the
so
Godfather.
well.
Like
Yeah.
you know,
They treated
Godfather.
everyone so well, and that was really impressive.
Yeah.
But I found it really funny. The father of the bride of the wedding I was DJing, there was another wedding going on at the same venue somewhere else. He was in the bathroom doing lines of coke. And the father of the
As
bride,
you do at a wedding.
as you do
when
at
you're
a wedding,
bikie gang leader.
Are you going to tell him no? I'm not going to tell him
Yeah.
no. So the father of the bride of the other wedding walks into the bathroom while they're doing lines, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "You want some? You want sham? Like, just,
You want sham?
You want sham?
You want some?
You want
want
sham?"
some, mate?
Offered him a line, and he was like, "No." And then he went and complained to the venue. But when we got to
And the
dance,
venue's like, we're not saying shit.
Yeah.
Do you know who that guy is? Do you know who that guy is?
that's it. He's paid the bill. He's treated the staff with respect.
Yeah.
I'm not messing with this. But yeah, during the dancing, it got real wild, real off its tits. But like I played "Bring 'Em Out" by Ti, and everyone cleared the dance floor, and I was like, what? Like it's a banger. These people are into that sort of music. What's going on? And everyone leaves the floor simultaneously. They run outside and they come back in and they pop open all these umbrellas. They fill them with bottles of beer and then they just chug them. Each person's chugging from an umbrella.
So was that like one of their songs or something that's like the one that they do it? Or they just decided to do it?
I'm guessing it just seems so synchronized that I had to think that it's like, this has got to be a thing, right?
Yeah. Or
Where
it's
you're
like they just yeah, that's weird.
It's
When they
very
just-
strange.
When everyone does one thing at once and it's almost like seems planned,
Yeah.
it sort of feels like there's got to be a trigger for that.
Yeah.
Which is maybe the song. Or,
Yeah.
or maybe they were like, at this time of night, when it hits 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, we're going to all run out,
Yeah.
and do this or whatever.
And they usually tell you about that sort of stuff. If
That's
gonna happen.
when you do weddings, you know.
But this
what's gonna
one was
happen.
just like they all simultaneously did it, and I was like, that's awesome, but very strange. But yeah.
But
So-
there's a lot of effort to plan that if you don't know that song's going to be played.
yeah. That's
You know,
it. Because they
it's
didn't know
at
it
the
was
same
going to be
time.
played.
It's like, yeah, maybe they just carry it everywhere.
Maybe they
There's
would
certain
just.
songs that have like connection to college for me, where
Yeah.
I have to do certain things when they come on.
Yeah.
I'm glad no one plays that music
Thank
here.
goodness. 'Cause-
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the most common that everyone knows about is like obviously the Eagle Rock pants drop. But like,
Yeah, well,
stuff like
ours
that.
is similar to my college, but it's not Eagle Rock.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want to go to a venue where someone knows me and has seen this and plays it. And then I'm like, have to drop my pants in like Prohibition or something. No, not that anyone would play this song at Prohibition, but you know what I mean? Like,
Tell you what, I'm going to play in Prohibition in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to make it my duty to find out.
Yeah. Are you in the comp?
Yeah, I'm in the comp.
Nocturnals? Yeah, man, that comp's going to be so good. Sunday nights.
The lineup. The people that have
just-
entered is like,
Yeah, I
not
just
me, obviously I'm trash, but like everyone else is like,
I just want to go and like hang out. Like,
it's going to be so cool.
yeah.
Like there's such a bunch of good friends of mine doing it, and I'm so excited. to see
Yeah,
them
like when
play.
I saw all the list, I'm like, oh, like every one.
Because
there's
they
a-
just put up two more heaps today, so
Well, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
some people when they came up with those first three, they're like, "Oh man, what's happening?" Like, like how come? Like, I thought because they put up some of the heats before the end of the
yeah,
vacation thing, and people were like, "Oh, they've already put up all these heats." Like, oh, you know all those guys. Can
Yeah.
you get us in? Like, let us know. And I'm like, man, like, I got nothing to do with like the running of it. Like,
Yeah.
hopefully they they'll if that's the cutoff date. Obviously, they're
Yeah.
going to release some more days when heats will be and stuff. And I'll put my hand up to Josh and the Nocturnals crew and say,
Yeah.
like, I'll come and judge, like, be an
they're a cool
impartial,
crew. They're a
an
real cool crew.
impartial judge. Yeah, I mean, I know that whole crew, like,
Yeah.
great crew.
Great crew.
But yeah. So I'm keen to get down to some of them
Yeah.
and check them out and support because I always love when there's like. Not just like I already love the Prohibition crew because you know of all the guys who play there, it's similar music and interests and stuff. But then, like you said, all the people who are playing there for this DJ comp are amazing people as well.
I
There's
was
heaps
looking
of
at the
people in
names
there,
and I
yeah.
was like, this is because usually in the comps you get a ton of unknowns,
Yeah,
which is cool. I love seeing them anyway, which is really cool. But this time around, I'm seeing the names pop up, and I was like, I know all these people. This is
Yeah.
going to be such a sick.
I think it's because there's not a lot going on at the moment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are like, well, I've got no gigs because the clubs I play at are closed.
Yeah,
Let's enter this comp and it's open format too, so it's like you can play whatever you want.
oh yeah, they're going to regret that. No, I'm kidding.
Oh yeah, I've seen the copy of like the info they give you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like which they're
I
covering
like-
their ass, but it's
Because
it's
I'll
gonna
do
be
something
interesting.
houseier for it too. Because I would usually
Like
do
you get the vibe
drum and bass or
because they're
future
looking
bass.
for a
but
nocturnal resident, so that means you've got to be able to play main room, Prohibition, or the outside bar.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you've never been and checked those things out and you're playing in this comp, go and check it out. Like
Yep.
obviously the main room is going to be a little bit different and weird and everything, but like if you're more of the hip hop party open format DJ go check out the Garden Bar. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you'll get a vibe of like what's played there.
Yeah. And it's such a good thing to do before comps. I always find that so crazy when I turn up when people are like doing a competition for a residency.
Yeah.
And they are just playing stuff that's aggressively not what the venue would play.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I get that to show off your skills to some extent, but at some point you've got to go, okay, I can actually play what these guys need me to play, and I want them to see that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be doing that. And the last Nocturnals comp was heaps fun too. I really enjoyed that.
The online one. Yeah, because you did pretty good in that too. You
Second.
get the finals.
Came
you come
second.
second. Runner up. So you're probably in with a good shot in this comp then. Well,
I was
not that you know, like not the past indicator, and I think there's different people in this comp too as well. So yeah, it'd be interesting.
And
that's a good thing. They know who you are.
Yeah,
they know your name,
which was really cool. And that last comp was heaps fun too. And I was really stoked to.
Who won that?
Joski.
I don't think I know Joski.
Okay, like disco funky sort of house stuff.
Cool.
Real cool.
I might have to get him or her.
Him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joski, if you're watching, hit us up.
Yeah, I listened to his mix. All the finalists were dope. We had Cool Whip, Zemo, myself, and Joski as the finalists.
Yeah.
The semi-finalists, I can't remember quite everyone on there, but Roger G was on there.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to be like, out of all the entries, we came to the semi-finals, which is the 10 top people, and there were 9 house DJs and me, and I was like, because they're like Nocturnals are house guys, and I was like, oh, I've snuck in.
Yeah.
And then to get to the finals, it's been like, I snuck in again. Like, just playing drum and bass.
But the thing is, like, you know, like Josh, for example, who's the guy, you know, Josh Thompson, Apollo, runs Nocturnals.
Cool dude.
Like,
does the sax drive as well.
Does sax drive, yeah. But, like, he's been around for ages like me. And so he's been through all the different genres, and he appreciates all the genres and stuff. So it's not like while Prohibition is like his home and what he's done for the last few years and stuff, and he like excels at doing that. Like he's great at that. He's definitely got the knowledge and the experience of other things as well,
sure.
and the appreciation, you know, like that he loves, like, you know.
I just loved the feeling of being like, I am the drum and bass representative.
I'm the only one.
Oh, just I'm just like, because the drum and bass community in Brizzy is like, there's such a bunch of solid dudes and girls. Like those guys and girls are like really cool people, really helpful, really loving and caring, like in what they do.
Drum and bass is huge in Brisbane.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see that. So yeah, just to be able to be like, hey, I'm repping some drum and bass for these guys.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was a really good feeling.
Yeah.
Coming second was like, oh.
Yeah, it's like
so close, so close. I understand
just
though.
The bridesmaid. Never
well,
the
thing
bride.
is, it's like there was a popularity contest aspect to it too, and I don't have any following. So I have some internal followings, but as like a large like Brisbane DJ, you know, I understand not a lot of people know me. The only people that know me are industry people.
Yeah. And it's because you play like commercial gigs and stuff. It's like you're not like at a resident at a club every week and people know.
And I'm
you,
not building my own name when I DJ either. I'm just going and doing like a very service role.
Is Rinzler the name that you like? That's the main like.
Well, that's my project. Is what I would call it. So I DJ just under Zach or Zach B.
That's what I mean, because I've seen a few things like sometimes you're this and sometimes you're that.
Yeah. So I've got essentially 3 DJ projects. So I have Zach B, which is just what I go under for weddings, clubs, any commercial.
Any relation to Tashby? No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
I'll never tell. No. Yeah. So that's what I do most of my stuff under. And that within itself, within the commercial space, has got a good, like I get plenty of bookings. I'm never struggling, like, which is awesome. Because I just go in there and do what they want.
It's because you're known in a different scene, scene or circle of you know, like.
And then I really started Rinzler, which is, I suppose.
Is that how you say it?
Rinzler, yeah.
Rinzler.
Because
I think I was calling it Rizler, like the Rolly papers.
Ah, right. Yeah, you were. But it's Rinzler, which I stole that from Tron Legacy, so that was cool.
Yeah.
Soundtrack, because he's the main. He's not Clue. He's the other bad dude in it. Is Rinzler, and I saw that movie and I love the soundtrack as every DJ does because Daft Punk, holy crap, so good.
I've got so many like intro edits I've started that are like start with like a Tron song, and because they're so like iconic, like the grid, it's like the grid.
Have you listened to any of my
digital frontier?
So I created a mix series called Encom Tower, and I haven't finished that. But all of those online mixes, you know, because I don't play stuff that's too similar to what the Tron soundtrack was, but I always put nods into it because it was such a impactful soundtrack.
Samples.
Yeah. So it's like, you know,
snippets.
I'll start off a mix with exactly what you said. It's just like little cuts,
The grid
little
or
bits.
whatever. The grid.
Yeah.
A digital frontier.
Yeah, or it's like I started, you know, if I'm doing a DJ battle, which I've done a couple of, it's like I start off with the soundbite from the movie, which is like Combatant 3 versus Rinzler, and like start there. And I was like, I really dig that. I thought that was, it's just a cool little fun thing. So that's my personal project where I just play whatever the hell I want to play. No, not genre defined, not on brand. I just do it because I love it. That's my fun one. And then I also have a second fun one called Weird Hours.
Because I've seen you guys do like some weird mixes out here.
Yeah, that's Weird
It's like
Hours.
we're gonna do like
Experimental jazz in 7.
yeah, like just like out there stuff.
Yeah, real
That's
whack.
Yeah.
And that's
like,
that, which is real fun. If you're ever looking for a creative outlet, take all of your weirdest music and DJ it and see how you go, no matter what genre. And it's real. It's a bunch of fun because it's like, so experimental jazz is one of the things, underground experimental electronic, like stuff you can't Shazam is what we try and incorporate. Like we'll do hip hop if we want to. So that's me and Peter.
I thought there's another dude involved.
Yeah,
Peter who?
Peter Wood. No, Peter Towns.
Peter Towns. And has he got an artist name?
Yeah, Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yep. Is
today,
one.
not tomorrow.
Not today.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Yeah, real cool dude. We get along.
That's a cool name, actually.
Yeah, and he's got a shirt to match, so it's real neat.
Yeah.
So that the Weird Hours is for that. But yeah, the real weird experimental stuff. Like we did like last time we did it, we had German death metal. We had some like weird Russian house music. You know, we had some video game stuff from obscure video games from the early 2000s. Just stuff that like we've picked up along the way and gone that. And then it's sort of fun to do it with another person and go. He looks at me,
those things
he
are cool,
grins me and looks at me, grins at me, and then throws on something to try and throw me.
Yeah.
And then I got to do the same back, and it's just like this back and forth.
Yeah, it's just fun, and you're just like throwing each other in the deep end.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, what
and then
am I
it's
gonna do
real
now?
cool to get into like music with odd time signatures, and you're like, oh, cool. Your 4/4's out the window.
Yeah.
Good luck mixing this. And you just got to come up with a creative way to make it transition well. And it's just like
Loop one
fun.
beat, and then while the other song's coming in or something. Yeah. But yeah, you know,
Yeah, so that's a real fun one. We have no intentions yet of doing anything with that, but
it's just a fun thing to stream and record and have fun and play
we
around.
pop up every now and then. We'll pop up every now and then at random events and gigs and whatever.
Could eventually be really cool to do it something like a doof or something that's a bit more alternative. You know?
Yeah.
That'd be fun to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing in COVID? Because, you know, obviously you said you've stopped the interval stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of your work is DJing for commercial weddings, all that kind of stuff. And there hasn't been a lot of that lately.
Yeah.
So what's been happening? Like, you know, like I know that we worked the elections together.
Yeah.
Which is a cool little
that was where we
money
first
grab.
met too.
Yeah, in person.
in person,
And I think that's a good like tip for anyone who wants to just make some cash. Because what did you think about working? Like, it's easy work.
It's
a
chill.
long day. It's easy, but I always think of it as like, well, it's a Saturday. I'm not going to spend any money, and I'm going to make a heap of money.
Yeah. It's like a $500, $600 payday.
Yeah, for a day.
For a day's
It's a big day, but
It's like 12, 13 hours, yeah.
yeah. But
So-
then you go home and you're like, well, I'm not going to go out and spend it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just sort of like ready to go to bed. And
Yeah,
it's like,
dude. So solid.
make a heap of money.
If I
and
could
that,
do
yeah.
one 13-hour day for that amount of money per week, I would do it,
Yeah.
you know, so easily.
There's another one coming up. I've got
I've
to apply.
already got a booking on that day. So.
Oh, you've already got a gig.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so, which
You
is
probably
good.
make more money in less time, easy.
Yeah. About the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but way less time and more fun.
Yeah. So the elections was a good, because that was good for me because I wasn't quite on JobKeeper yet then.
It's just a good little like
It-
money thing.
it was-
and like Adam did it as well.
Adam was super
hashtag
cool.
feelings. I tried to get a few other people on, but there was some problems with the system and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like, yeah, the chick
Yeah.
running it was just like, if you've got anyone, let me know. And I'm like, I've got so many people. It's
like,
because it's
hi.
like the whole DJ community. I'm like,
I work in the music industry.
yeah, pretty much everyone doesn't have a job right now.
I
and
can't
they're
eat
all-
this week.
Yeah. So
But
yeah,
yeah.
that was really cool to be able to like, you know, help a few guys out, hook
Yeah.
that up, because it's like I said, you know, it was a great, you know, little thing. Even though it takes a little bit of time to get the money, but you know, it's once you get it, it's
Yeah.
a good chunk of money
It's good.
for easy work.
Yeah. It's like
It's just
you can,
monotonous.
yeah, it is.
It's just
very.
it's
You
just-
wouldn't want to do it on a daily basis.
Oh, no way.
Or on a regular
No,
basis.
no. Once whenever an election
Three
is.
or 4 months, you're like,
Whenever an election is, I'll do it and
Yeah.
make a bit of extra cash on that weekend.
it's a good move. Get on it. And they train you in advance, and it's real easy to pick up. So
Oh, it's not hard.
Yep.
It's like, if you, it's not hard.
it's not hard.
So,
yeah.
No more comments on this because
That-
we want to, I want to work there again.
Yeah. So yeah.
But yeah, what else have you been doing during COVID?
Yeah, so that was I just spent a lot of time learning a bunch of new stuff and working on a bunch of stuff I was already working on. So first thing I did was I was like, well, crap. I've now immediately got months of downtime and I want to make the most of this time. So the first thing I did, I was like, okay, I'm going to go get a new skill that is going to have some universal application. So I went.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like straight up, like a lot of people, and I got a little bit of flack for it because I was like, hey, this is the time, guys. Like you don't have to DJ, like pick up a new skill, get a side hustle, work on your production, work on your like whatever it is. If you can't
Whatever
scratch,
you wanna work
learn
on.
to scratch, like
Yeah.
pick up something new. Like you've got the time, and a lot of people were like, oh, some people have mental health issues and that, and I'm like, well, yeah, I understand that.
They're the
but
exception,
how is
though.
that any
Yeah.
different to normally?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone has we're all in the world normally, and we can do our normal lives, and within that construct, people have mental health issues,
Yeah.
and I feel for them, and and
Yeah.
I'm not talking about those people,
Absolutely.
but then it's like for the rest of us,
Yeah.
who don't have
For
these
the
things,
for the general populace.
yeah,
it's
for
gonna be-
most of us,
Yeah.
if you're just gonna sit at home and play video games and get drunk and not do anything productive, I don't have any sympathy for you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I'm like, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing something productive because
Yeah.
you've got the thing that makes you money taken away, but you're also getting a little bit of money from the government to
That's
live
it.
and
'Cause
survive.
I don't know anyone that was like a job seeker is not enough to live off, because it is enough to live off. And if it's not enough to live off,
If you're bit like bare bones, like you can eat and have a home. And
I
that
paid
kind
my
of stuff.
rent, I ate food. That's all it needed to do.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it
not
paid
like
my
you're
bills.
gonna have, maybe you need to cancel your Dropbox and Spotify
yeah.
and Netflix and
Yeah,
all
goodness
those.
knows I did.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, okay, I've got a little less money, but I also live in a country that is going to make sure that I'm not gonna
Die. Yeah.
They're gonna take care of me, and that was awesome. And it happened immediately too. So I had that 1 week off, and then the next week I was on Job Seeker until I got on JobKeeper, which was super solid. So yeah, first thing I did was I was like, cool, I'm just gonna go and learn a new
So
skill.
what was the new skill? Yeah, because I just interrupted you.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
Social media management.
Perfect.
So I just
Absolutely perfect.
yeah, I just was like, this is no matter what I do in my life, no matter where I head, because I'm still somewhat undecided, is just like, I know this skill is going to have so many universal applications.
Yeah.
And I studied, so I did a double major in uni, and one of it was art and the other was advertising. So I already had some background knowledge in advertising. So then to bring the marketing into it, I was like, oh, this is all super useful stuff to know. And immediately I took that and started applying it to things I was doing. So the other thing I started was realistically starting the presence of the Rinzler project.
That's what I mean. You said it's like, oh, not many people know. And I was like, well, you can do that now.
Yeah.
Like you can let people know, because it's not like everyone's going to clubs looking for people to see, and that it's like, that's not the place where people are. That's not where the attention is. Like when it was in the dance music industry before COVID, the attention was at clubs.
Yeah.
And all the media on social media and online that
It was all
would feed from the
event-based.
clubs.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, well, there's no clubs, and you see like the Bow guys doing the big streams, and
That's so sick.
and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
to try and like bring it back. And it's like, well, now the attention's online, but you've got to like know what you're doing to get the word out, and then B, you've got to have a good product. Like that's like
Absolutely.
so many people. It's like I always talk about like, oh, you should be putting out content and like doing all this stuff, and that's so true. But it's like, well, the baseline before you get to that is that it's got to be good.
Yeah.
Like
You got to have a product
it's
that
like, but
people
I'm not
want
gonna.
to.
I don't know what's good for you.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what's good for me. I don't know what's
absolutely.
good for
And
you.
we could
because
have very different goals within that too, to be like, oh, I actually don't want to be that.
Or I don't want to
And-
do that.
yeah, so
Or
my
I
goal
don't want that to be my thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And my goal for Rinzler for that time, for the major portion of the lockdown time, was just to be like, okay, no one has seen me do anything.
Yeah.
Because I've just been busy doing commercial stuff. I'm going to take the tracks I love and I'm going to put them into something not for any consumers to consume, just for my friends and other people in the industry to look at me and know what I can do.
Yeah.
And know what I love to do. So that was the whole idea of starting the Rinzler project, which then led to the first season of mixes. Which
are these the ones on Mixcloud that did really well?
Yeah.
So let's talk about this, because Mixcloud I think is going to be a huge, I'm hoping it's going to be a huge platform.
Yeah.
They're the only one who have the live stream thing sorted in terms of
licensing and royalties
and stuff.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you're smart, I think you would start trying to grow your Mixcloud now.
Yeah. Because it's still small and it's still
no one
attainable.
else has done it yet. Yeah. But like, how did you get? Because I know a heap of your mixes got to, and I've analyzed your profile and stuff. Like, you don't have a huge number of following on your profile or anything, but your mixes you did were going like to number one and all stuff on some of the when they came out. So what's the hacks? Give us the little secrets and the hacks, because there's obviously something in there you're doing.
You can have some of my secrets.
Some of them we don't have. Some of them we'll give them here, and then the rest you tell me later.
The other ones you got to pay me for, like, and I'll do that for you.
Yeah.
So it's like any system. So like your Facebook, your Instagram, your Mixcloud, and I learned a lot of this during the social media deployment. Just to figure that out, is just been like, each one of these has a different system for how the chart works or how visibility works.
Yeah.
And for Mixcloud, the trick was just finding out how that visibility worked and leaning in on that. So how Mixcloud analyzes its its charts via currently, this is subject to change, obviously.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with social media. It always changes. Yeah.
Especially if someone's cracked the system and can hit number one for 6 mixes in a row.
Yeah, like, and it's like actually not that good.
Yeah.
But it still hits it.
Yeah, it's like it can, it has to be, that's one of the things. It definitely still has to, because this is the number one thing for chart trending on Mixcloud is engagements, your listen percentage. If you're uploading a 30-minute mix or an hour mix and people are done out after 10 minutes, you'll never get anywhere. Like it's
like YouTube, it's about retention, engagement. Like, how long do you stay on the platform?
So my first 3 mixes I put up there hit in Australian charts, they hit higher. They hit like top 20s. And then in the international charts, they hit the top 90s with like a 25% engagement. So I had to be like, okay, wherever I'm sharing this to, or whoever's listening to this, needs to retain it for the whole time. So that comes back to your targeted audience. I have to make sure whoever I'm connecting with is going to listen to the whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah.
So that's what I did, is you just go, I went out. And
so does it mean, like, obviously there's an algorithm and stuff, but it's like, but if I have 100 people listen to my tune, but they only listen to 25%, is that better than 10 people listening to the whole mix? You know what I mean? Like, how does it, have you figured that into it?
I have figured out that exact thing. So it does a ranking system. So the first thing is engagement, is your number one contributing factor. Next thing is external shares and traffic coming in from that. And then you have, underneath that is all the normal things where people would be like, oh, okay, your likes, your comments, your reposts, all that sort of stuff. They're so much smaller. And the reason Mixcloud has done this, to my knowledge, has to be like, if you're a small creator with a high engagement, you can get on the front page and get exposure. Which is why I really enjoy that platform, to be like, hey, I've started this project. I have literally no following. But because of that, I've been able to hit the front page and then get a following within Mixcloud itself, which has been really cool. So yeah, active engagements was the number one thing. Hitting music groups that are going to care about what you're putting out there. Yeah. So that's what I did. It's just like a bunch of Facebook groups that are like, and when I would make a mix, I would only post it to ones where I know people are going to like it. So because I jump around between the genres.
Because you don't want people to just jump in and go, oh, 10 minutes. Oh, yeah, cool. But I'm not going to listen to the rest.
Yeah, I want people to click on it and go, I enjoy this music and I'm going to put it on for my background at work and just listen to it. And that's,
it makes sense for the platform too, because the platform wants people who are going to get people to the platform and listening for the whole thing. Like, they want you to stay there. So they want you to stay there and listen to the whole thing. And then they want people to come from other places to there. So it's the social posting, people coming in. Yeah. So it's really, and that's the same with a lot of platforms. Like,
Yep.
you've just got to figure out
Your engagement.
what they want, you
Yeah.
know, like, and every platform wants you to stay on that platform.
Yeah.
You
So
know, Facebook wants you to stay on Facebook. They don't
yeah,
want you to go and watch a YouTube video. They want you to stay on Facebook. Instagram doesn't want you to go, you know, and go to SoundCloud or Spotify, even though they've got that functionality there.
Yeah.
But I think that's a bit more of a
yeah.
they're trying to tap into the music base to try and get music users to use it. But
Yeah.
you know, I think that's every platform wants you to
Yeah.
stay on the platform. So if you can think of it in those terms, you know, I think
Yeah.
you're always going to be.
And
know,
then
winning.
so the other thing was then finding out what all of the stats meant, all the analytics behind it. And then once I did that, I was able to go, okay, I understand exactly how this works now, how the system's working. And then I just tailored my ads and advertising, because I paid for advertising for it to try and get some flow through, just to get feedback mainly. And then once I figured that out, I was like, okay, this is now connecting with the right people that are going to listen to the whole things. I got my listen rating up to 80%. And 80%.
It's like funnels almost. You
Yeah,
know, like,
exactly like a
funneling
funnel
people
system.
in, yeah.
Yeah. And when that happened, it's like, okay, now I'm hitting 80% listen rate on my mixes. They're hitting number one, which number one in Australia is easy enough to get. You can do that. And I think I've hit number 2 globally in a handful of the mixes, which is a much bigger platform, because Mixcloud's not so popular in Australia yet, but in a lot of the Asian countries, it's really very popular. So like, if you're ever charting globally on like the Liquid Drum and Bass chart, which is one of the ones
I don't think I will ever be, but that's fine.
I choose to believe you can.
Yeah.
Come to a back-to-back, we'll get it sorted.
Yeah, we'll do it.
But yeah, so competing in that space is hectic, because you're literally challenging people that are getting 20, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 100,000 listens. You're
Who
challenging
are all listening to the whole thing too.
You're challenging them for the top spot.
And I suppose that's why like a radio show is a really good thing on Mixcloud, which there's heaps of radio shows, because people will listen to it every week because they get invested and they know this person's going to play new tunes that I'm going to love, that, you know, or
which
whatever that I can
cool.
find
like,
or learn. So I think that's, and like I've started uploading podcasts to it, and it's not like they probably don't get any listens because I don't have a following, and it's not like anything on Mixcloud.
Because even mine are like
they're there though. Yeah. If you want to listen to them, you can listen to every podcast on Mixcloud. Yeah, like it's there.
And like my following isn't even that huge on there. The funny thing is my following is not translated anywhere else because I don't have any other socials currently. But with Mixcloud, it's
but that's going to change right now that you've got your social media marketing.
It's going to change when I've got my plan sorted and know what I'm doing with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Which isn't going to be too long.
Like, which is exactly what I think was cool to see the what the Bow Boys have done. Which they've done fantastic stuff.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Go check out their stuff if you haven't seen it.
I mean, I think anyone watching this
has absolutely seen it
already. Yeah.
And they're doing solid work, but exactly what they're doing has, like, they've had a plan and a purpose every step of the way. And that's been very impressive to watch and very encouraging to watch too.
You know what's really funny? Like, because I've been, it's been like a year and a half or whatever, and I do these podcasts all the time, every week. I've done like 70, whatever, like 70 plus podcasts, 2 hours each, always on the beers. They've all started to merge into one. So I kind of have forgotten about all the early podcasts, like what's happened. So I've kind of been going back and listening to them, and it's like I'm getting high on my own supply kind of thing, like, but it's really funny. And that's why I've started on my personal account doing the podcast trivia, because I hear little things from it. Like the podcasts, I go back and listen. I'm like, oh, that's a cool little question that people, if they've watched it, they'll know. And one thing with like Bodie was like, I remember when he was in here, which was like, I just messaged him. It's the 26th of August. So it was like just like a year ago, basically. Yeah. And he was like, oh yeah, I just come into frequencies. And I just practice. I'm not really a live stream guy. Like, I don't really like live streaming. It's like, like comes to me in a club and, but no, I'm not really a live stream guy. And I messaged him. I was like, dude, I just listened to this. It's so hilarious. I'm like, just put on like the best live stream like in Brisbane and stuff last week or whatever. And it's like, you listen back to only a year ago when he was like, oh, I'm not really a live stream. Like, not really into live streams or anything, like, and it's that 1 year. And
such a big difference. And then they've been nailing it too with the merch thing too.
Yeah.
They've had a really good idea with that and a really good execution with that. And it's like when I come to the point where I'm ready to do that with the Rinzler project, that's the same sort of approach I'm going to, different things, but like the same sort of approach where it's like, no, it's going to be planned and proper and ready to set up to succeed.
Yeah.
Is the thing when I'm ready to do that.
Yeah.
And that may look like developing some producing skills first.
Yeah. Yeah.
To really individualize what I'm doing and really, customize that the best that I can.
Yeah.
It's such a sick thing to do. And that same thing with interval is like, I decided the main reason I stopped it because I was able to start it again to some degree a couple of months ago, but I stopped it mainly because of cash flow. I do that whole thing out of my pocket, and I do it because I want the community of DJs in Brisbane to benefit.
Hey, bro. Speaking to you're preaching.
Yeah,
to the choir.
I know. Yeah, you get it, man. You get it, man.
Yeah. All those A Beer With presents. They're not free.
It all costs money, and it costs to do interval to the level that I wanted to do it to. Cost a few $100s, every fortnight, which is a substantial.
Each one costs you money.
Yeah, which is a substantial investment.
That's what I think people don't understand. Like events, they cost money.
They cost money,
and if people don't turn up,
and I'm doing it bare bones off my own back too.
And if people don't turn up, you lose money.
Yeah,
lots of money.
Yeah.
It depends what level you're on and what you go to. But, I remember, talking to, Hannah Wrigley, who just did the Bicky Factor. And they're like, at the start, we were losing thousands.
Mm-hmm.
Every event, we'd lose thousands because we'd pay this money for an artist. And if you don't make it back on the door or the bar, if you have a deal with the venue, you lose a shitload of money.
Yeah, that's it.
And people don't see that, they just see
they see the flow coming through.
Get us into the green room to hang out with this artist who's big. It's like, well, yeah, but
you still got to buy a
ticket. I gave you a free ticket to come in and you've already hit me up for 10 drink cards and he cost me $6,000 and and it's like we've anyone who's run events, I'm not just talking about Bicky Factory or whatever. Anyone who's run events, they're in that situation.
Yeah, I always make a point nowadays to be like, when I have friends
at
playing
least
a venue,
buy your ticket, bro.
Yeah,
at least buy your ticket.
They're like, I can get you on the list. And I was like, don't put me on the list. I will pay to support this event because I really want this to keep going. If it's an event you believe in, you want it to keep going. And that's the big thing that I had with Interval is anyone that turned up regularly was like, this is awesome. We want it to keep going. What can we do to help? And the only thing I need to do now is to be able to give them an opportunity to help and to just be like, okay, maybe here's some merch or here's some more specific events or, here's some stuff that you can get behind.
Yeah.
And I really put it out there to be able to go, okay, I want to equip these DJs with some tools to be the best that they can. And for that, it looked like giving them a platform to be who they want to be, providing them, and then the next step is to be able to go, here's some professional photography and videography for you to use in marketing for free, so you don't have to pay someone.
Here's some
to do
content.
That. Here's some content. So I did it with the photos and did some of it with the video, and we're just expanding for that one. But when we relaunch next year, which I'm just going to wait for.
So that was going to be my question. When is the Interval going to come back? Because we were going to do one here when we could, and I was going to play at it and a few guys, and then we're like, I think it was.
I think we should not.
It was the height of COVID.
Yeah.
And it fell through. But what?
And rightfully so.
Oh yeah. But when can we expect it back? And what's have you got? Is it going to be the same vibe and direction or what?
Yeah. So it's going to be a bit more refined. Which the feedback, so I put out a survey. If anyone's making stuff for other people, do a survey. It's free. Your people want to give their opinions. It's been awesome. So I threw out a survey into the private Facebook group we have for it, just to give everyone's feedback on what they wanted from the event. And that's been the most useful thing in the world.
I think people don't I've even done it on socials and stuff. It's what do you want to see me post? It's I can post old photos of me, when I was young, throwbacks and DJing in the past, or I can do stuff that I'm doing now, or I can give you information that I've just learned about, social media and stuff, or music.
Now you have some of my Mixcloud secrets, so but
it's what do you guys want to see? And
all the guys, I had
so many people 20
something DJs fill that out. Which was awesome. And they gave me the exact direction they wanted the event to go for. Yeah. And I was like, that's awesome. I can take that and run with it. So I've taken that, I've turned it into a plan.
And even if you don't take every thing. You're like, there might be something if someone's like, oh, we want to do a VR experience so you can have a VR at home. And you're like, well, you know, like we were talking, it's like,
down the line.
That's a little bit ahead of us now. Like, we're not
Yeah.
going to do that now. Like,
Yeah.
That's not the vibe we're on. But
And it was really
it's
cool.
good to get those,
Yeah.
you know, ideas in.
Absolutely. And the best feedback I had was just the core of this event and the heart behind it is exactly what we as Brisbane-based DJs or Queensland-based DJs want.
And what was
This is-
that? Like,
it was
the social, like the getting meeting
Complete
each other.
pressure-free environment to do
Yeah.
whatever the hell you want and to have people appreciate that.
Because that's the thing, like, you know, a lot of people in other cities in Australia, like particularly, you know, Melbourne. Yeah. Are like, oh, what? Underground DJs have to play commercial music in Brisbane? And it's like, well, yeah, because there's not a lot of underground
Yeah.
venues. It's like we don't have the population
Yep.
to support those kind of venues.
That's a big thing, just quickly on that too. It's like when you're doing I did this for my analysis of the Brisbane music scene when I was breaking all the stats down for that for my own research. And it's like you were dealing with 2.2 million people roughly. 400,000 of those people will go and see live events or go to a club. Only 400,000 people of that. And the reason that's such a small number is because you take that and you minus the big ticket events. So you're 50,000 people at a studio that are only going to go see Taylor Swift or Ed Sheeran and never going to go see anyone else. You take that number out for all the different big niches. And then you're left with, okay, it's like after we've done that, we actually have 100,000 people.
Yeah.
And then we can break that stat down even further to go, okay, well, we can take the metal and rock guys out because they're not going to come see your DJ.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
Because they're not into that. So
Yeah,
you
of
take those guys out. You take your jazz musicians out. So that eliminates, 6 people that still go and see jazz music.
Yeah.
Rip
There is
jazz.
still a jazz club in Brisbane,
I
though.
go to it. I love those guys.
Oh, we
and
should
support
go
it.
one time.
Hell
Yeah, I've got one of my uncles plays there. He plays
sweet.
sax and stuff. Yeah.
I may have seen them. It's such a cool vibe.
Yeah, we should definitely go there one time though,
I'm
because I
on.
love my jazz.
I
used
love
to be
my
a trumpet
jazz too.
player, so yeah.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. And when you break it down, it's like the ballpark of people that might be interested in your music is very small. So I know for me, it's like the future, the style of music I play or want to play with the Rinzler project is very niche. And realistically, I would be lucky to hit 3,000 people in Brisbane that are interested in that. So that means when I do launch that fully, I've got to be shooting outside of Brisbane. You know, I've got to be shooting. So that means I have to change how I'm reaching
Otherwise,
people.
you have to get all 3,000 to come to the gig, which is impossible.
Yeah.
You can never get everyone to come.
You're never going to make that happen. So that was it's a valuable thing to be realistic about though.
That's the thing, like, you know, people are like, oh, you should just play underground gigs. Well, there's like, we've got like one underground club, which is like probably.
I'm super keen to Sub Rosa. Yeah, I'm super keen to come to underground events, but I also have to pay bills.
Yeah, but Sub Rosa is also a particular type of underground.
Yeah,
it's, you know what I mean. It's not like, I mean, they do psytrance and stuff every now and again, but it's not like you can go and just listen to like psytrance. Like, where's a club in Brisbane you can just go and listen to psytrance randomly?
Yeah, no, you
There's
can't.
none that play it every night. And up until recently, you know, drum and bass even. I know, you know, like the Rum Bar, at the old Montague Room at you know, Sub Rosa, and then I know that, you know, over at West End at Rumpus Room, they often do a lot of drum and bass stuff. But for a while there wasn't really anywhere you could go to listen to drum and bass just on a normal night.
Yeah.
Like, unless there was an event on or something. Whereas, like, you know, now it's sort of like there's a bit of that. But, you know, like, where do you go to listen to Glitch Hop or Halftime?
Yeah.
In Brisbane, there's no club for it.
No.
I mean, maybe Rumpus plays Glitch Hop and stuff like that,
and
but it's not like
Sub
every
Rosa's
night.
doing Glitch Hop,
but it's not every night.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's not like you can go to a club there and go, oh, we can listen to this music that we love every night. Yeah.
So that may have tipped onto the long-term plans of Interval potentially is to be the next venue for that. But that's down the line. But more immediate.
But we won't talk about that. That's like 2023. You know.
Yeah. We're really delving down.
It might have been next year if COVID didn't hit.
Yeah.
But you know.
Yeah, it is what
it is.
It is what it is. So, intervals.
Shout out Max Holloway. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone watches MMA out there, but yeah, that's his catchphrase.
Yeah. Sick.
But yeah.
Yeah. So interval relaunch is looking like
Is it got me on the lineup? He's like, nah, bro, I haven't thought about you. Yeah, that's all right. I'll be there. Don't worry.
Yeah. So
I'll be there. I don't have to play.
The first thing that's happening for those event wise is the first 4 events were the last 4 events booked in. just rescheduled. So that does involve.
So
you.
I was one. I was in one of them. Yes.
That does involve you. It's like because we had
unbeknownst to me, I am involved.
We had 28 DJs, new DJs that hadn't played an interval before, ready to line up to play the next intervals. And had to pull all those events because that was going to be 4 events in 4 weeks, too. So that was going to be pretty nuts. So restoring that is going to happen. But the first thing that was going to happen to go alongside with the website that's coming, which is going to be a useful tool for DJs, I believe. That's the goal for it. Is a DJ competition, but one that is a DJ competition with a good cash prize and then some really helpful stuff to go along with that. And I'm not going to talk details of that because we're still working it out. Because I got a small team behind me that are helping me construct that to be the fairest it can be. So popularity is out the window. No popularity contest whatsoever. No genre bias whatsoever. All of the judges that are
I'm all about that, man. Like, like I always say, I love going to a venue and not knowing any of the music. And I get that experience more when I go to other genres I don't know because I don't know that music. And so it's like, I'm listening to liquid drum and bass and it could be like the #1 hit of liquid drum and bass at the moment, but I don't know that.
I don't know it.
And I'm just like, this tune is so sick.
So
like, I love this. So, I'm all about that when I don't know the music or the genre.
So completely no genre bias, and to the point where the judges that are involved with, which I've hit up some and I've got to hit up more, will be, if they feel like they're going to be biased towards the genre, they get defaulted to another judge. So if they hit it,
it's almost like you need you almost need alternates. I won't judge this person or whatever.
That's exactly what it's like. And then we've come up with a grading system that's going to be as fair as possible. But the document behind the grading system and how it works is currently sitting at like 2 A4 pages of how that breaks down.
This is like the most in-depth
it really is
possible.
just because
so you almost need to do like a degree or a little few courses to be a judge.
It's a 6-week course.
It's a 6 weeks course to be a judge, but you'll be a judge.
There's no benefits for being a judge.
You'll be the best judge on the planet.
So it's basically the top 2 breakdowns of it, and I'll just touch on it briefly. Is there's an additive scoring system for song selection and creativity and uniqueness, and there's a subtractive scoring system for technicality. So
that makes sense.
So because
I used to be a gymnast, and it's like you would get skills for doing harder. You'd get points for doing harder things, but then any mistakes that you would make, you would get deductions. And it was like, so you might do a harder skill, but you might do it shit and get deducted. And you pretty much shouldn't have done it. You know what I mean?
And that's exactly what it is. And the idea with that is that potentially, not likely, but potentially if you were a fresh DJ on the scene with very limited mixing ability, you can still make it through heats. And then in the same way, if you're an incredibly technical DJ who is not particularly creative, and these DJs know who they are too, they're not ashamed of it. It's they've hit their niche and they love it. And it's really on that technicality.
I actually love this, the way you're thinking about this, because it's something like I said, I relate to it through gymnastics. It's something that's been around for years, and it's an established thing, and there's a code of points. There's there's certain things that if you do this, you get this. If you do this, you get this. And then if you do this, you get deducted this, So it's, I really love that, most DJ comps are sort of they just give you a score for each category. It's not like there's addition things you can do that can give you extra points and the things that you lose points for.
And the idea with that is to balance it out.
I haven't heard that in a DJ comp sense, and it makes so much sense.
I actually bounced that off Peter a lot to help me come with that from yesterday. Because he came up with that system himself when I was bouncing ideas off him. And he's like, what if we did it like this? And I was like, that's brilliant, because that means that no matter what camp you're coming from as a DJ, you really do have a shot at making that, because you
can just be really really creative and do really creative stuff, but maybe not the best DJ. But you could be the best DJ and just do your thing, and it's then you gotta
And if you're in a happy middle ground, awesome. You're gonna do really well. And the idea with that is then to create some multi-tiered prize package that's gonna not just be like, haha, cash prize club residency. It's like, no, here's some here's a thing that's going to equip you to do better in the industry.
Here's an artist development package.
Yeah, that sort of stuff.
Here's a like
go get your press shots
pack.
done. Yeah,
you get your press pack. You get a bio. You get someone to sort of like put it all together and give
you get a video created of you performing that's going to be like 4 minutes long that you're going to be able to go, this is what I do. Like it's really going to set them up to succeed. That's the idea behind it. And then so DJ competition is going to be the big launch for that.
Yeah.
And then restoring the regular events when we're able to do that effectively.
So this is all next year, you think?
Yeah,
2021.
Because I need this year to develop it. I need the next few months.
Figure it out because you want to do it right.
Because I want to do it properly. Because I'm building the website too. So the website, which I'll show you some video of it, of what it's looking like currently. Because I used to be a web designer.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I've done.
Help us with mine.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you're already helping us with shit.
Yeah, sure. That's in my ballpark. So yeah, I've designed a website, but one of the key features of the website is a artist profile page that is completely filterable. So any DJ that comes through Interval,
like resident, what is it called? Resident
advisor.
Resident advisor.
I've been
similar.
So I'm actually a promoter on Resident Advisor.
Yeah.
With their stuff, so I can submit events and register everything through them.
Yeah.
Nice. Which is what I've been doing for Interval. Is they're all official Resident Advisor events.
Yeah.
So they're all registered there, and you can go view them and that sort of support. So yeah, artist profiles like that, and the idea is that you can filter through different genres, different styles, all the different metrics for DJing, different experience levels, whatever that looks like. There's going to be a banner at the top that's like feature artist of the week. And it really highlights and spotlights them. Yeah. And the idea is that, if you're a DJ coming onto the scene, this is a created reference point for you. Yeah. So you get your photos and your video. When you do Interval, you get some highlight reel, you get some photos done. That's uploaded there. A bio is written about you.
It's like it's always like, oh, I'm going to play this free gig. Well, what do I get? Well, you get exposure. It's like, well, no, you don't get with this. It's not just exposure. It's like you get press shot, or whatever.
And this page is a reference page for you to go, okay, I need to show someone what I can do. Yeah. This is the page.
Because these days, like a lot of people don't have there was a big website craze a while back where every DJ had to have a website,
And now people use their socials as a website.
And now people don't have websites. And it's like, but you need somewhere that has links to all the other shit you do.
And just
good content and that explains like your bio. Like, so if someone goes, oh, what do you DJ? What do you can just be like, go to this address. Yeah. And it will say your bio, what you're into, what you've done, and then links to all your socials and stuff like that.
And that's the idea behind it, to just be like, okay, cool. I need to show off. Here's a central point with everything that's of a quality. That's going to be
like Linktree, but better. Yeah. But
just specifically for, and then eventually Interval to expand to DJs, to musicians, to lighting, to any creative,
everything,
anything
every
creative
thing that you're into.
And to really just make a space for that. And that was the slogan, Interval, a space in between. The idea is
because it is important for any scene. I think is to have those. Everyone says it's almost overused, safe space. Yeah, but like a space where you can just be creative, and it's like no one's gonna be like negative towards it. It's like, well, you tried something, it didn't work, but that's fine. We all
and I love
creative people know that you've got to be willing to try something and fail. Because then all right, so that's not what I should do. Yeah, they try something and it works, and you go, all right, so this is what I should lean into a bit more. Yeah,
we had that with one of the quite a few of the Interval events actually that happened, where a newer DJ has come onto the scene, they've made a mistake, and they get a round of applause. They're not getting a round of applause because everyone's laughing at them. It's because everyone in that room, we've been there.
Yeah, we've all made mistakes.
We've fat-fingered the cue button instead of the play button, and the song has stopped. We've done that. I in my first Interval set that I did that. I hit the cue button instead of the play button.
I've never done that. No, I've definitely done that.
Except Jai, he's perfect.
I've done that heaps, man. Like, everyone's made mistakes.
Yeah, and it's like the new ones are like, they're crushed. They're like, I made a mistake. Everyone's going to think I'm a fool.
It's like, nah, bro.
And it's like, we've all been there.
Yeah, we silence. Get it. Love silence.
It's like, yes.
Silence is the bomb.
And then when you recover it, everyone's like, good recovery. Like, they're behind you 100%. And that's the environment we wanted to cultivate, is to just be like, we're actually there with you, for you.
It's a group of peers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the
And we
big
get
thing.
it. Like, I
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
get it.
That's what I mean. Like, it's a group of peers. They all understand. They've all been there. They
Yeah.
all, get it. Which is what I love about, the interval thing and what I've seen from it. Is
Yeah.
because it is very much a peer thing. If you want to be in the scene, go check out interval.
Yeah.
Maybe play one if you can, if
Yeah.
you can get in or whatever. But
Yeah, that's why we're doing so many events, is just because the amount of people that wanted to play it was just like through the roof.
because it is like, low pressure and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the biggest thing. One of the biggest feedback I got was it's like, oh, if you've ever been a club DJ or if you've ever DJed in a club, the hidden pressure is actually you are there to sell drinks. That is your job. You might think you're there to cultivate a good life, good night, and that's
But
part of it.
it does depend on the venue, though.
Yeah.
Because some
absolutely.
venues play like it's extravagant entry fee.
Yeah.
Because they know you're not going to buy drinks.
Yeah. But
we're skating around the drug issue here.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that there's venues that sort of bank on that you pay this much to get in because we know you're not going to buy that many drinks.
Yeah. And that's it. Anytime I've played a venue like that, it's like, I got to make sure these guys are selling drinks. Like any of those big commercial venues, which is just how they operate.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's even just taken away that pressure. And then my favorite thing is to just be like, so the first set I did there was I did a heavy metal set because I like heavy metal music.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is sick. And in the same night, we had a reggae DJ who came and played reggae, and then we had a
totally different,
big room DJ that came and did big room,
which is cool, man.
Yeah.
Like diversity and stuff.
Love that stuff.
But
Love being able to see it.
So where can we find you? Like online, what's the best places to find, like everything that we've talked about today? Like,
Yeah, so you can they're dormant at the moment, but just like either
you can still find them.
Yeah, any social media that is /interval.aus, so interval.oz at the end of Facebook, Instagram, anything like that is where you'll find that. You can hit me up on my personal pages currently, which is just Zach_Brommel or Zach.Brommel.
Yeah.
If you want to get in touch and get behind any of the stuff that I'm doing, or if you have
Or
any feedback
volunteer
or ideas.
people. Like, if you want to get into events and learn and work your way up the ranks and do your own shit, volunteering's a great way to do it because you learn and you prove yourself to people who are doing shit in the industry, and then they'll vouch for you if you want to do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, if someone came to you and started from a volunteer and worked up to be your, like, 2IC and then went, oh, man, I want to do this, like, event and stuff. Like, you'd support them 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same with me, Like, so it's like, people don't understand that. It's like, you volunteer, you prove yourself and work yourself up with someone who's already doing shit in the industry, and then they'll vouch for you, which will help you. Plus, you'll have the experience. Like, it's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah,
like, once you've been in it for a while, it's like it's a no-brainer. Like, if you want to do it, like, you just got to get into it.
Yeah. Oh, if you want to do something, just do it. That's such a big thing I see a lot of people forget is like sometimes it's like if you want to do the thing, do the thing. You will learn so quickly once you're there. And that's where like I want to start running underground events. I guess I'll run an underground event and see how that goes. And on my very first one, I learned so much. And I'd run events previously.
You got to be willing to not like make, like,
you got to be like every dollar that goes towards this is going in the shredder. Like,
I always say, like, people who run their first event, it's like you got to think about all the money you put into this because you're probably going to lose money or break even on your first ever event. So all the money that you put into this, that's marketing dollars.
Yep.
That if you're smart and you know what you're doing, you'll get good photographer, videographer to get social, like that good content for the next event. So you've just paid, you lose.
You're paying for the information.
You lose $2,000 on your first event, but that money is promotion for the next event.
And that's
because then you get the
content.
Too. Yeah. So it's people got to understand that don't expect to just start an event and make heaps of money unless you're some dude who has like 1 million friends.
But after the first event you run, you'll be like, I now know every flaw that this event has.
Yeah.
And I've got to go and fix it.
Yeah.
So that's the quickest way to learn. Same with anything too. It's like just start where you're trying to finish and get it done.
That's it.
Because you learn in 6 months on a job site way quicker than you do 4 years in a school. Like it's just
Like I will always someone who, if I was still running events, if someone came in as a volunteer and worked their way up, I would have way more trust in them than someone who's like if I was trying to look for a logistics manager
Yeah.
for a festival and this person's worked their way up and I know who they are, I'd totally give them the job as opposed to someone who has done event management, logistic management, and has no experience.
Because I
I know how this guy works, and if I tell them to do something, they're gonna do it because they know that.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of someone's like got their own. Oh, but that's not what we learn at uni. Like, you shouldn't do this. It's like, well, this is the real world, motherfucker. Like,
this is actually
you
how it
learned
goes
that
down.
2 years ago, and that shit was relevant maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And now it means shit.
It's such a
You know, like it moves so quick.
Not to bag on uni because it's got some very good
let's
valuable
bag.
stuff.
Let's bag hard on it.
Okay, I bag on
Yeah,
a lot
okay,
of uni, but like not all uni. Some uni is really good and very effective. If you're an engineer
Depends what
or
it
a
is.
doctor or something like that, academia is
yeah,
perfect
yeah.
for you. That's what
Yeah.
it's designed for. If you're trying to work in the creative spaces, unless you're a creative academic specifically, it's not going to have so much benefit for you.
Yeah.
You're going to find a lot more benefit in working job sites, or you're going to find a lot more benefit in what a lot of friends, mutual friends of ours have done, which has been like gone to SAE or JMC and got the diploma as a general baseline and then gone from there, which is a really good way to do things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got so many uni friends of mine that have done marketing and advertising, and I love them to bits, and they're good at some things, but I've hit them up to be like, hey,
They're
can
good
you
at
give me some
traditional
advice?
media.
Yeah. I hit them up for, I need advice, I'm trying to do this, and they shoot me back answers that don't work.
That you know are wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
because of the modern world.
yeah, and it's
Like, yeah, 10 years ago, that was like totally relevant.
I
like
even knew it back when I was
A
17 and
billboard
doing
return
websites.
on investment would have been like amazing of this. It's like, but you know, no one's driving at the moment. Like we're in COVID. Like people aren't like looking at billboards. They're not on the roads. Like, so it's like, why does it cost that much? But
Yeah. And
anyway, that's a huge discussion for another time.
billboard specifics too, for anyone out there that knows it, is billboard is one of 4 separate media that you have to have for a billboard to work. Like you can't have a standalone billboard. It does not do the job unless you're a local plumber advertising in your area.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you need multiple media to combine with that for that to be effective.
Yeah.
You mainly do that for brand recognition anyway.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
and it's like traditional media has its place, but you've really got to take a different
but the return on the ROI is not the same as what it used to be.
Yeah, of course not.
And it's changed. Like now
radio
it's-
ROI is still pretty up there, which is really surprising.
Yeah.
It's
I suppose
crazy.
it's because audio is always going to be king.
That's it.
Audio is king.
Rip photo, rip video.
Rip photo video. All right, so we found how to see next year we've got the like everyone start working on your shit now so that when interval starts you can do some like cool shit.
Yeah. Oh, and then
If you're a lo-fi producer, you can do like a whole hour of your own production of lo-fi.
absolutely, and you can do it live too. So that was actually funny with Breathe. We had it lined up. We had instruments coming in for that. So myself and Peter, who was also going to play that, we both had our own instruments and recording gear and live setup that we were bringing into that. So if you ever want to experiment with that vibe, that's like we're there for that.
Yeah.
Anything you want to try out. So
Anything you want to do, we're keen for.
we're so keen for. So I even had Maxi D from Illustris. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, he does like these LED lighting strips and walls, and he's starting to play around and figure all that stuff out.
So
He's doing a
cool
great
lighting
job.
thing.
Yeah. If you've ever seen that stuff pop up, you're like, frig, that's sick. He was just going to come in so we could play around with it and test it. I was like, man, if you've got a toy you want to play with and you need a space for it,
Just bring it.
we'll do everything we can to make sure that's going to work. If you're like, I want to DJ and play my electric guitar at the same time, it's like, I'll run you into the PA and we'll get that jam.
We'll make it work.
Yeah, I'll have you come in 3 hours early. We'll do a sound check. We'll get it pro. Yeah, we'll get it real nice.
Yeah, sick.
So any of that sort of stuff. And then the other thing we were doing, which is this is going to be second half to the later half of the year, is DJ battles, live DJ battles.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that.
So-
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
But thanks for calling out, man.
My pleasure.
I know you got to, get to a gig, but let's listen to this drum and bass tune, and then
Hell yeah.
we'll catch up soon.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Thanks,
For coming out, man. Let's give it a little cheers for the end of the night.
Yeah.
All right, catch you guys. Have a good one.
Catch ya.